If you've ever had such a wild July 4th that you started your own political party, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. And as promised last week, all of my fingers are here. Just as a really quick aside, I spent a lot of time last week saying, hey, we should all be careful. We should all be safe. Let's not have any firework disasters. I said it all week on every program that I was on. And then, of course, over the 4th of July, one of my buddies had a firework disaster. Thankfully, everything's okay. I just found it a little bit funny after the fact, after everyone's okay. Anyway, welcome back. We're having starting another full week here. Monday, July 7th. We do have a lot of news to go through here today. We're going to get you all set up for this week, and we're going to get rolling. Benzinga's pre-market playbook for Monday, July 7th starts right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful holiday weekend. I know I did. It's one of my favorite times. We golfed plenty. There was heat everywhere. And last night, the heat broke. It rained here in Chicago and it's 60-something degrees outside. And for the first time in weeks, I have my window open. So I hope all of you are also getting a bit of a reprieve. Hopefully you're rested and hopefully you and your family are in good shape here today. Great to see a whole bunch of returning faces on this Monday. Paul, good morning. Welcome back. It's good to see you on the Futures Treat You, Paul. Sun-Kissed Yogi, good morning. Good to see you again as well. Mama Bear is back, locked in. Let's go, Mama Bear. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Glass half full, good morning. Meta along today. Let me add Meta to the list. I think, you're asking a good question, Glass half full. I think there's going to be opportunity for some of these tech names, and some of these tech names are also going to continue to broaden out. So I think we're going to have to be selective there. Added Meta to the list. We'll take a look at that today. Sassy Butterfly Chick, happy Monday. Good morning. Let's pray for Texas and all of the families that have been affected. Indeed. No stock market tied to this, at least not right now. I'll let you know if I come up with anything. Right now, it's really terrible. I agree. Indeed. Prayers out for the family. I did, of course, check in with 13, who's far away from the flood zones. Him and his family are fine, and all of that. But yeah, really, 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 really terrible stuff. We'll continue to do that. Good morning, Sassy Butterfly Chick. Peter, good morning. It's good to see you again. Hope all is well in the Rockies with you. Big Bear Hug, good morning. Let's get it done. Chuck, Couch Potato, and Quantum, good morning. Jane, great to see you. Welcome back. Harley, welcome back. Big Abees, welcome back. Javon, Zach, and Charles, welcome back. D-Dog, you want to add to the list. You got it, Charles. Added D-Dog. We'll take a look at that again as well. No guest this morning, so we should have plenty of time to go through charts. Also, the news, some of the news is stock market related. Some of the news just makes you want to pound your head against that stuff, to be completely honest with you. But we'll break it down. Bernard, welcome back. Good to see you. Reaching Financial Freedom, welcome back. Laura in Florida, welcome back. How's Florida treating you, Laura? How's the weather down there? ATL Russ, yo, you getting hyped for the All-Star game? Let me know. I'm actually really excited for that. Producer locked in. Day Trader, it's great to see you again. C-Dub, welcome back. White Chocolate Mocha, welcome back. Terlingua, welcome back. 5 a.m. seems so early after a long holiday weekend, but I stand here with you right in this amazing group. Oh, man. What an endorsement, Terlingua. Look, if we're making you get up in the morning and not feeling bad about it, that means we're doing something right. Good to have you here. Benjamin, welcome back. Yassine, it's good to see you. Lauren, Florida, my Marine son came home. Let's go. Thank him on behalf of all of us for his service. Glad you're able to spend some time with your son. That is fantastic. Shanlu Trading, good morning. Chop Coop, good morning. Pete, good morning. Kanan, good morning. Rooster, JJ, good morning. Sean, good morning. Oh, that's right. Day trader, you have no work today, so you're focused on the market. Bless up. Let's go. That's great news. Jim, good morning. Kevin, good morning. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning. Durkus, good morning. Big Milkshake Trading, good morning. Kevin, Graf, and Larry, good morning. Jeff, Good morning. We're your guests, bro. We don't have one on Monday. It's hard, sometimes it's hard to line up guests on Monday, but we're constantly looking for more. And if you have one, go ahead and suggest it. We'll see what we can do. I promise I will bring you guests in the future. I promise. Larry wants to take a look at Tesla. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I suspect Tesla's going to be in play here today. I just want to know if the bottom's in, but we'll talk about that. Added to the list there, Larry. Finico, welcome back. Dave, Tom, Exy, Kerching. Isaac, good morning. And Hoot, good morning. All right, let's go ahead and get into it here. Glad to see everyone back. No one has complained about missing a finger yet, so that's good shape. Natalie, good morning. All right, let's go ahead. There we go. Let's dive in here. So here's your chart at the SPY. We continue our breakout going higher here as we broke the 613.23. Now we're moving higher. My initial thought was the next spot that we stop probably somewhere between 630 and 640. That's not even really specific enough. That's just kind of giving you a range. One of the things that I am looking at here for a reversal is going to be the VIX. Now, the VIX was elevated slightly, just shy of 18 this morning. It's coming a little bit. We're about 17 and a half. But really, I think if we get down to 13, I think it's almost certain that we're going to have to take some type of instrument to protect ourselves against any downside, as I suspect that we'll see it. We'll see what happens if we get to 15. 15 has caused this to bounce a little bit in the future, but in the past, but I am watching the VIX here, and that might help tell us when a top has been put in. Last night, the futures opened in the red with all of the news over the weekend. The America Party, all of that stuff. Futures have since rebounded. S&P futures down 0.2 here today. So after the overnight and the weekend session, almost back to flat. The intraday chart, if we take a look at this, the intraday pre-market chart has us coming up off the lows. It actually looks like it does want to push back to balance. So I'd be unsurprised if we actually go to unchanged here. But we continue the breakout. We continue the breakout over the 613.23 highs. Now, we were all kind of waiting, and I think rightly waiting for this Wednesday, July 9th. There's some news on that front, so let's go ahead and cover that. I'm going to start here with a little bit of an update. President Trump said he would be sending out letters to America's trading partners announcing that tariffs would be back to the April 2nd levels if there was no progress being made on signing a trade deal with the U.S. by then. Now, futures have not really responded to this yet. There could be a number of reasons for this. Maybe they're not buying it. Maybe they've seen this story a few times and kind of want to take a wait and see approach here. The other thing here is that it seems like the most important deals have some type of progress or are at their own, I guess, inflection point, if you will. That would be my guess why the market's not really taking it. But we'll see. We'll see what happens this week, and we'll see what happens as we get closer to Wednesday there. Trump also signed the sweeping tax and spending bill into law last Friday at a White House July 4th picnic. No word on how good the hot dogs were from that picnic, but I'm still waiting to hear. This move comes despite projections that the Congressional Budget Office will significantly expand the federal deficit and cause millions to lose their insurance coverage. Meanwhile, he also threatened an additional 10% tariff on any country that aligns with BRICS and their anti-American policies. That comes as no surprise. We scroll down to some of the analysts or insights from the analysts here. I beg your pardon. Ryan Dietrich from Carson Research pointed out that the S&P 500 has made 738 new all-time highs since 1990 till Thursday, suggesting that future returns are actually stronger than the at-any-time returns. Okay, so future returns are actually stronger than any of the at-any-time returns. Many are scared of heights, but history says you shouldn't be. I, for one, am someone that doesn't really care for actual heights. I do love when the stock market is high. Not a huge fan of hot air balloon rides, but that's neither here nor there. Here's the chart that goes along with it. This is basically saying, look, if we're at a high, that doesn't mean that we're just about to fall off. there could be some more good news from that, and it says that the data shows that that's the case. He also pointed out historical data where the S&P 500 index was up by 5 to 10% in the first half of it's a Monday, and Ryan butchered that sentence. He also pointed out historical data where if the S&P 500 index was up by 5 to 10% in the first half of the year since 1950, the index returned 6.4% on average the next 6 months, and it ended with a positive return 86.7% of the time. So that bodes well for where we're at right now. Perhaps the second half of the year is set up to surprise to the upside here, or be good, be a good second half. This is kind of where I sit right now, and until I actually have data or something showing me that's not the case, and when I say that, I don't mean people proclaiming that the world is over, or people that really hate the administration are just absolutely wringing their hands. None of that is important. We see data that things are really, really bad. Things will change, but until then, I'm still optimistic for the back half of the year. S&P 500 up between 5 and 10% year to date at the midpoint. Final 6 months are higher 13 out of 15 times, and a full year up 14 out of 15 times with better than average returns. So the data there is good. It is supportive for us being long into the second half of the year. Again, we'll see how it shakes out here. Couple of more things to go with. Global stocks as tracked by the iShares MSCI World ETF, that's ticker URTH. We don't look at that here, but it's being cited here. Formed a golden cross for the first time since January of 2023, according to a chart shared by Bar Chart. This bullish signal where the 50-day cross is above the 200-day, and hopefully that 200-day is upsloping, appeared on charts for the SPYs and the Qs. Now, we covered this last week. Really, is this going to kind of broaden out and lift the tide for everyone else? Yet to be seen. Historically, the last time URTH formed a golden cross, returns surged by 43% over the subsequent 2 years. Tell you what, if that's what we get right here, that would be awesome. We'll have to see. Data is supportive of that right now. Also, I see that Treasury Secretary Bessent is on CNBC right now. Quote, got a lot of new trade offers last night on the back of this news about kind of sending out letters and kind of forcing the hand there. Good God, come on. Where was my place? Looking back to the 1975, a golden cross on the S&P 500 chart has historically been a strong positive sign, leading to higher returns 88% of the time over the next year. According to Subu Trade, the S&P 500's average return after such an event over the past 50 years is an impressive 12.29%. So a lot of really kind of impressive good numbers here. I'm going to remain optimistic, but I'm going to make sure that we keep ourselves in a position where, look, if the data changes and things change, we also have to be nimble. That's just what it is. Okay. So those letters that I was talking about and that Bessent is referencing here this morning, President Trump said he has signed letters to 12 countries detailing the tariff rates they would face on exports to the United States. According to a Reuters report, these take it or leave it offers are set to be dispatched on Monday. Trump did not disclose the countries that are involved. The U.S. president had previously indicated that the letters would be dispatched on Friday, a national holiday in the U.S. However, now that date has been postponed. The letters outline the tariff levels that would apply to the country's exports to the U.S. Trump announced a 10% base tariff rate in April, with additional rates for most countries, some as high as 50%. However, all rates except the 10% base were suspended for 90 days to allow further negotiations. Those negotiations are ongoing, and Bessent confirming that they are still ongoing even into the 11th hour here. This period ends on July 9th, with Trump suggesting that the tariff rates could be increased as high as 70%, taking effect on on August 1st. So Trump and his administration initially planned to negotiate tariff rates with numerous other countries, but have since shifted to sending letters out, a process that the president finds easier. The only trade deals that we've reached so far are the UK and Vietnam, and then the other ones that are close and in the hopper that at least we know about are going to be India and South Korea. I think there are a couple of other, we haven't really got details on that yet. This move by the Trump administration is part of a larger strategy to favor straightforward agreements over complex negotiations. You folks have done a really good job of highlighting how, generally speaking, a lot of these trade deals take a long time to consummate. Looks like they're trying to speed that up here, and they're trying to design them in a way where it can be done pretty quickly and not as complicated. I think that's probably a net win for everybody, but we'll see. Trump had earlier announced that the U.S. would raise tariffs to 70% as the July 9th deadline approached. Negotiations with countries such as Indonesia, South Korea, and the European Union and Switzerland were reaching critical stages. Switzerland, that's another one I forgot to mention there. Thank you, Story. The U.S. stock market has been reacting to these developments with the announcement of trade deals with Vietnam, leading to a rise in stock futures. The Trump administration's shift in strategy has also been evident in its decision to favor narrower trade agreements to avoid reimposition of U.S. tariffs. Now, again, a lot of uncertainty there. However, the market, at least so far here this morning, seems to be taking it pretty well. S&P futures now only down 0.17%, so they continue to climb since the start of the show here. Now, one more thing on this, and then I'll give you a break, and we'll take a look at some charts, I think. Treasury Secretary Bessent has cautioned that countries failing to negotiate a deal with the U.S. will face a return to higher tariff rates on August 1st. During an interview with CNN on Sunday, Bessent echoed President Trump's comments from Friday, stating that, quote, reciprocal tariffs initially declared on April 2nd and paused for 90 days and a week later will officially come into effect on August 1st. Although the 90-day pause is scheduled to conclude on July 9, Bessent clarified that the new effective date does not represent a new deadline or an extension of the original timeline. This is important. We discussed as early as last week. Trump was making comments about how he wasn't going to extend it. Bessent clarifying that here. He emphasized, quote, what we are saying is this is when it's happening. If you want to speed things up, have at it. If you want to go back to the old rate, that is your choice, end quote. On August 1st, you will boomerang back to your April 2nd tariff levels, said the Treasury Secretary. Again, the July 9 was the deadline for starting the negotiations. The thought here is that negotiations would continue in that process and the tariffs would go back on August 1st. President Trump will be reportedly sending letters to trading partners warning that if progress is not made, they will face the April 2nd tariff from August 1st. Bessent suggested that this move could prompt a lot of deals very quickly. They did get offers, according to him. Nothing definitive as of this morning. In another interview with Fox News, the Treasury Secretary added that Trump's strategy has created, quote, maximum leverage, end quote, before the deadline to strike a deal that is a move that this move will likely prompt a flurry of negotiations in the coming days and weeks. This, to me, is the obvious part here. I've been saying this from the beginning. The U.S. knows that they have leverage, and for the first time in a long time is actually using some of their leverage. And evidently that rubs people the wrong way. Nonetheless, market is certainly being supportive of that. We'll see how this all shakes out. Should be a busy week with that July 9 deadline looming there on Wednesday. Quote, the looming tariff hike comes in the wake of President Trump's earlier threats. On July 4th, Trump announced that his administration would begin informing trading partners about new tariffs on their exports starting on July 9, with tariffs scheduled to take first on July 1st. On August 1st, I'm sorry, I keep getting all these dates mixed up. The new tariff levels could range from 10 to 70% as part of Trump's strategy to favor straightforward agreements over complex negotiations. Furthermore, on July 6, Trump threatened an additional 10% tariff on any country aligning with BRICS and BRICS's anti-American policies, escalating trade tensions as his July 9 deadline for comprehensive tariff restructuring approached. So again, we'll see how that all shakes out there. Okay, next story here is going to be on Tesla. Someone had already asked to see the Tesla chart. So I think what we should do is break up some of this news with some of these charts. Now, I had kind of joked in the opener here that about creating a new political party. Again, news here, Tesla shares are trading lower after CEO Elon Musk said he would launch a new political party. Now, I don't know if the political party is going to have any type of success. I don't know if it's worse for Democrats or Republicans or if it's actually good for Americans. I don't know any of that yet. I will say, at least he's trying. At least somebody is trying. If you're going to complain about what we have, at least try to change it. And at least he's doing that we'll see how it shakes out here. Now, in the interim, or in the immediate aftermath of this, Tesla is getting spanked. And this really shouldn't surprise anybody, because it really seems like when Elon was getting involved prior, it seemed like Tesla investors basically said, we'd rather you spend more time on the at the company as opposed to the side hustles or side gigs, I guess you could call them. Here's what Tesla's chart looks like intraday. This was down 6% at the lows, traded down to about this 291-ish level. Now we are up off the lows, so I'm expecting Tesla to have kind of a wild day here today. I would not be shocked, currently sitting here at 297. I would actually not be terribly shocked if this came all the way back to 316. Furthermore, I wouldn't be terribly shocked if this thing had another leg down at some point here today. Extremely volatile. One of the things that I'm definitely going to be watching is going to be some of the option flow in both directions here on this. There might be some pretty good short-term trading. Honestly, just kind of looking at this chart now, this looks like kind of a setup to go long, dare I say. Maybe this makes a move towards 300 and peaks above it before it challenges that level. I don't know. I think there's going to be a trade here in Tesla. I have no position on a shorter term trade, but I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on it today. Now, here's back to the daily chart. This will kind of give you an idea of where we're at here. Currently sitting at 297. So although we've pulled back and we're beneath the 50 and the 200, by the way, Tesla just golden crossed. We are still holding this 100-day. The last time we dropped, we came down here, we held this same level, and we bounced back up to the 200-day. Well, so far, we're setting up to do that again here today. We've traded down. We've held the 200 or the 100-day. That value there is at 295.5. We're currently sitting at just shy of 297. So we did kind of test that level here. Then if we trade back up, I guess, there's tails in here, but I guess this is kind of gappy from 301 to 311. So again, if we get above 300, I think there could be some wild moves to the upside here. Tesla is going to be no stranger to headline risk, as it has been all year. So we expect to see some more of that. And then as a caveat here, the 311 level, this is also one of the fib pivots that we have from this recent run up and big time pullback. So we're right around a bunch of key levels, and so far the stock, at least technically, seems to be behaving somewhat. Seems to be behaving somewhat. So again, I guess let's just use some of these as a potential mile marker for the trade. Again, I'll be watching some options here today just to see what happens with that. Let me know what you folks think about. Producer, I don't know if we should come up with a poll about the actual political party or about Tesla's stock. I would imagine we'd talk about Tesla's stock a lot here today. So maybe throw out a poll there and see if people are even interested in a third political party. I'm sure you'll come up with something now that the heat is not sapping your thoughts. Okay, all jokes aside, let's get to the actual article here. CEO Elon Musk announced a new political entity over the weekend dubbed, quote, the America Party, end quote, which has since sparked mixed reactions among investors, analysts, and loyalists. Check out the current... I can't believe the story just got me to read that. I literally just got gotted by an ad. That's terrible. Okay, on Sunday, Wedbush Securities senior analyst Dan Ives was blunt in his assessment, saying that Musk's move was, quote, exactly the opposite direction, end quote, of what most investors would have wanted him to take during what he refers to as a crucial period for Tesla. Now, we've spent a lot of time talking about what a crucial period this is for Tesla. I know a lot of us talk or think about the car as being the primary driver here of Tesla. It really seems like future ambitions are what primarily drives this, and not necessarily the car. We've talked a lot about some of the Optimus robots and how that might play into automation and AI and all of those applications. And really, I still believe that that's going to be a huge driver for Tesla, probably more than the car. But in any case, this is clearly going to cause trouble. It doesn't matter what you're bullish on In the meantime, this is going to kind of leave a damper on all that. It seems like Dan Ives is saying the same thing here. Ives says he gets why Musk is doing this, but adds that it's just causing exhaustion for investors in the company as the stock has dropped over 6% in the pre-market trade before recovering to minus 0.85% at the time of this writing. It's changed since then. This to me is the big thing. I think he hits this right on the head. There's definite exhaustion here. So if you want to avoid some of the political back and forth, Tesla might not be the stock to hide in unless you're just taking a super long-term view. The good news for us, those of us that are active, is that this incredibly volatile stock that often gives really payable setups is likely to continue doing that. We're already kind of seeing that from the market here. We're already seeing today that it looks like it wants to try and capture 300. We'll see if it has the strength to do that. Tesla's given us or been no shortage of market plays in either direction. So Dan Ives, we'll see. This is my favorite one of the whole thing. Longtime Tesla bull and CEO Gerber Kawasaki, Ross Gerber, also voiced his frustration, saying that, quote, Waymo has solved autonomous driving. Meanwhile, Elon is starting a new political party, end quote. Wishful thinking there from Ross, but we'll see how this shakes out here. The one thing that I would caution here is if Elon is successful in this new political party, look out. The market is going to reward Tesla for that. You can be sure of it. His remarks underscore concerns that Musk's focus may be drifting from Tesla's operational priorities at a pivotal time for the company. The managing partner of Future Fund, Gary Black, who we've covered a lot with a lot of his delivery predictions, however, downplayed the impact this is set to have on Tesla, saying he disagrees with the doomsday crowd. Okay. So opinions on both sides here, and believed it's unlikely to have any significant impact on the company's shares in the long term. And I think that's the key word here. It's definitely having some short-term volatility. I mean, we're seeing it in person. Gary here thinks that at the end of the day, maybe this is much ado about nothing. While acknowledging that it's difficult to predict the short-term impact. Yeah. That's no news there. Black says that it's, quote, highly unlikely, end quote, for this new political venture to gain much traction. That's kind of the way I feel. We'll see how it shakes out. Maybe it does take some of the more centrists that don't really seem to have a home right now. We'll have to see if that's what ends up happening here. But I would say if I had to place a bet today, I'd be with Gary here. I don't think it's going to gain much traction. This, he said, would lead Musk to eventually focus on something else. And I guess if that's the bullish thought that you have, well, eventually this party's going to fizzle out and eventually Elon's going to get back to Tesla. Probably not the best trade thesis there. Again, we'll try and be a little bit more nimble about it. Musk's loyalists and supporters, however, continue to rally behind him, with Tesla investor and influencer Dave Lee defending the billionaire entrepreneur's motivation in a lengthy post on X, citing several personal sacrifices that Musk has made in recent months for national interests. You can't make this stuff up, Lee says, referring to President Trump's latest tirade against Musk, where he says that the latter has gone, quote, off the rails, end quote, and is a, quote, train wreck, end quote, despite toiling and putting in 16+ hour workdays and leading the Department of Government Efficiency, only to have his work undone. Difficult to say that his work's actually been undone. That seems like a bit of a drama queen over-exaggeration there, but we'll see how it plays out. Last week, Trump asked Musk to close up shop in response to the escalating feud about Musk, with the latter criticism of the big, beautiful bill. It's hard to think otherwise. As soon as the EV mandate was cut, all of this really started. So they can say whatever they want. They can go back and forth. They can trade whatever barbs they want. The reality remains, when your subsidy got cut, that's when you started making a big deal. So just going to leave that out there. We'll see where it goes from here. Trump's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen, disgraced Michael Cohen, who has since become a vocal critic of the administration after serving a prison sentence for various charges, came out in support of Musk on Sunday. That is surprising. And sarcasm. Cohen asks Musk to send him a message if he wants to know how to fight political guerrilla warfare, while adding that he would lose otherwise. Okay, Michael Cohen does know a lot about losing, so perhaps Elon should listen to that. All right, so let's go back to Tesla here real quick. Does anyone have this on their radar? Has anyone been trading this in the pre-market? I know, what are we? We're still holding. Yeah, so we're still down 6% here. But again, we're still up off the lows. Lows was like 291 and change. We're currently sitting at 296. I think the first thing here is that 300 level will be tested. I would be entirely unsurprised if we get a little pop above that right when we take that out. But let me know. All right. One more story here on Tesla. This has to do with the battle with Waymo, obviously, which is still going on. Ross Gerber says that Elon Musk needs to incorporate LiDAR technology into its robotaxis. Of course, Elon saying, no, you don't need that. These two butting heads over it. Taking his social media platform on Sunday, the investor shared his thoughts on the EV giant's full self-driving technology, a crucial element in Musk's robotaxi ambitions. Quote, at some point, Tesla will have to accept that LiDAR and radar are redundancies that are needed to make full self-driving safe enough at scale, end quote. Gerber called the visualizations rendered by LiDAR way more detailed and accurate in contrast to Tesla's current camera-based full self-driving. The comments from Gerber come as Tesla's robo-taxi has invited scrutiny from the NHTSA over possible traffic violations during the limited rollout event in Austin. Amid the launch, there is some buzz that Tesla is possibly licensing full self-driving technology to other automakers. Quote, there are a number of major automakers that have talked to us about licensing the full self-driving, and we are very much open to that, end quote. Now, that I think would be a pretty good boon for Tesla's stock. That would be my knee-jerk reaction if they do that. Nothing's confirmed here, but if we start seeing more and more headlines about that, I gotta think that's going to be viewed as bullish by Tesla investors. Despite scrutiny, some experts, including future funds Gary Black, believes the company has an advantage over its rivals, including Alphabet's Waymo, which lies in Tesla's scalability. I think that too. We'll see if I'm made to be right or made to be an idiot. We shall see. All right. Last one here, and then we'll go ahead into charts. God, it's only 8:30. We're going to have plenty of time. Good morning, Izzy. We will absolutely take a look at cores. Zach says on this news. Okay. We'll take a look at that too. Let me finish off with the Google story here. This one I actually think is interesting, and I do think that there might be something here. Well, we'll have to see. Alphabet-backed drug discovery firm nears human trials of its AI-developed remedies, says the president. The next big milestone is what we call a teaser in the business. Alphabet's Isomorphic Labs says its first artificial intelligence-designed medicines are nearly ready for human testing. Isomorphic Labs president Colin Murdoch spoke to Fortune in an interview recently where he said, there are people sitting in our office in King Cross, London, collaborating with AI to design drugs for cancer right now. Quote, the next big milestone is actually going out to clinical trials, starting to put these things into human beings, end quote. We're staffing up now. We're getting very close. Isomorphic spun out from Google's DeepMind in 2021, grew from AlphaFold, the program that predicts protein shapes with near lab accuracy. Murdoch said AlphaFold's latest version can simulate how candidate compounds bind to DNA and proteins, letting chemicals iterate faster and more precisely. In 2024, Isomorphic struck research pacts with Novartis and Eli Lilly, and in April this year raised $600 million, led by Thrive Capital, to build what Murdoch calls a, quote, world-class drug design engine, end quote. We're trying to do all these things, speed them up, reduce costs, but we're also really improve the chance that we can be successful. Rivals are rushing to the clinic as well. Recursion Pharmaceuticals, ticker RXRX, which we've traded a bunch here on this show, both from news drops that caused it to be a mover in the morning, as well as multiple repeat scanner hits. RXRX is a familiar one. It expects 7 programs to begin or read out human studies next year. On the other hand, Hong Kong-based Incilio Medicine earlier this year announced positive takeaways from trials of its AI-designed drugs meant for the treatment of inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD. Investor interest is surging. Recursion, excuse me. Shares jumped 18% last month after unveiling an open source binding prediction model developed with MIT. Chip makers are also piling in too. AMD just invested $20 million in Absci to challenge NVIDIA's BioNemo platform and its AI drug discovery. So, in addition to some of these actual drug companies, we're getting some of the tech companies to kind of sidle up, to use a Seinfeld term there, sidle up to some of them. And that actually makes this pretty interesting. And I think that gives us some more tentacles of headlines to watch here. Alphabet shares, and Alphabet actually does score very, very highly on both growth and quality, and still has some pretty good value there with our proprietary stock rankings. So, all right, let's go back to the charts here. I want to take a quick look at two, and then we'll go into some of the other charts that you folks want to take a look at. Here's Google. I'm still waiting on the Google chart here because we do have a potential head and shoulders forming here. This can very, very easily be invalidated with a big move up here in Google. We'll see how this shakes out here. We're still trying to test the upper end of the trend line. We're down by 0.3 here today. So for today's candle, I've got this trend line at about 182. We're sitting right here at about 180. So I'd actually watch this as a potential level here. I think if we see a bunch of bullish option flow above that 182 mark, maybe 185, that would be notable. We'll see if we're able to pop above this here today. You'll notice that we've got a number of things lining up here. Of course, the head and shoulders that we're waiting to see if that fills out, that's there. We have this channel, which is basically formed by two different trend lines. We're testing that. We're testing some recent highs. We have a volume shelf that's pretty thick that we need to kind of bust out of. That's going to be this right over here. So a lot going on with Google here. This actually might be a pretty good trade if we can break this to the upside. You might have a swing in one of these tech names, it might have a swing long in one of these tech names. Easy for me to say. AMD, which is a stock that you folks wanted to take a look at a lot last week, this actually had a pretty good constructive move. Not only did we move above two pretty key moving averages, the 200-day was the week prior, but the most recent one here was the 500-day, and last week we back tested it. So it sure looks like we held here. AMD, at least to my eye here, I think we probably want to take 140 plus here. This recent high was at about 147 and change. That's almost 148. 147.75. So if this back test holds here, I think we got at least 10 points of range to the upside in AMD. We'll see if we end up getting that. Now, the other stock mentioned in that story was RXRX. This is, again, one that we've seen quite a bit from headlines in the past, as well as right off the scanner. If we take kind of a longer-term approach at RXRX, look, we are pretty much right at, we got this at 520. We are pretty much right at this really, really key support level that we gave up and are currently trying to recapture. If we zoom in a little bit more, we have a couple of things that are quite positive for us here. Number one, we are pretty much in no man's land on the Williams percent hour and the RSI. So definitely have some room to run if we do trade a little bit higher here. This is down here today below the 20-day, or excuse me, right at the 20-day. I beg your pardon. So we're still above the 20-day. We're still above the 50-day here. Would love to see a move above maybe 550. I'd call it in here. A move above 550 probably challenges the recent high. That high came in on that's June 10th. I beg your pardon. That's at $6. And then we have the 200-day at 631. So RXRX has some pretty reachable targets here if this does turn around. I don't know if it's going to do it in short order here today, but one to keep an eye on. Maybe this stock has bottomed, and a recapture of this, pretty significant support level. Let's call it 550, 520 to 550. That would actually bode well for RXRX going forward here. So we'll see. We'll see if we end up getting that here. All right. We can take a look at the stocks that you folks wanted. It looks like you guys are mentioning Wolf on there. That was one that went bankrupt, right? Or filed for bankruptcy. I get WOLF and WULF mixed up all the time. So we can add that. We'll take a look. Big B's, we'll absolutely take a look at NVIDIA. No problem. I did want to really quickly mention Geo here with the passing of the big, beautiful bill and the more money outlined for detaining and capturing illegals. We're seeing Geo trade up by 7.5% here. Shares of Core Civic and Geo Group are trading higher in reaction to ICE funding in President Trump's spending bill. Now, really quickly, just to kind of reiterate, this is all retail that's buying this up. I'm not sure if there's actually a direct tie from the bill to this company, but we are getting some movement here today. We are above the 200-day. This pop here today actually takes us above the 200-day. We were in the process of testing that recently. The pop here today, the 7.5% pop, we're now above that, and we're just above the 50-day moving average, and we're basically right on that 100-day moving average. So we'll see if Geo gets a little bit more juice here. I gotta think 32 and change is probably the stopping point for this here today, but who knows? The other thing that we've got here is we might have a possible trend line to break. So here's that line. We'll see if we end up testing that here today. That puts us on today's candle. That puts us at about 29 and change. It's only $2 from where we're at right now. Again, big takeaway here. This is in the news because of everything that's going on. I'm not sure how much longevity this play has. It does seem to me like retail is the one that's really kind of buying this at the moment. But get you caught up there. Okay. Meta was the other question that you folks want to take a look at. Looks like, sorry, I'm just adding some more tickers here that you folks are suggesting. Planet Labs, BBAI, those are all ones that we've been looking at recently. So unsurprised to see all of those. Okay. Meta's the next one here. Here's your Meta chart. Sure looks like a pretty nasty double top, right? This stock has been one of the strongest tech stocks. It doesn't really matter. It continues to trade higher here. We basically put it, I know we put in another all-time high here, but basically this looks like kind of a double top. We're pulling back to the 20-day. Meta's down 0.2 here in the pre-market, so that could very easily reverse as soon as the market opens here. What I would like to see here on Meta, maybe a pullback towards 680. I don't think without any other really terrible news, I'm not sure it's really going to break down more past that. The one thing to keep in mind, we did Golden Cross on this. It looks like we have that from Friday, June 13th. So about a month ago, just shy of a month ago, we Golden Cross. Stock did move a little bit higher. Key levels here to watch. This recent high, what's the actual value there? Got that at 747.90. Let's just call that 748. 748, a break above that, going to be another blue sky breakout. I actually would think that 800 is probably in play if we do end up getting that. We pull back here. We're pretty much right at the 20-day. That's going to be another 10 points beneath us. Not a whole lot for Meta. If we break the 20-day, however, I think we are definitely going to have to look at the 50. And if we break the 50, I think we probably go down to that 200. Where I sit here today, I'm not sure that happens. I think a back test of this 20 is probably all you get before we retest the high end of that range. That would be my best guess here on Meta. Let me know if you folks have any other trade plans here with Meta. Was there anything that I missed here? I don't think so. I think the last piece of news that we had was that Zuckerberg was trying to lure AI techs or developers away from OpenAI by paying them $100 million salaries. Haven't heard anything since then on that. Meta here down 0.35% in the pre-market. Okay. DDOG was the next one. That's Datadog. Pull that up here. Here is Datadog. Now, the stock is down 0.58%, but this had a massive day on Friday. Remember, Datadog here, this was a nice move above that 200 and a huge break higher here. Let's go back and see what's going on here. This morning, July 7th, Datadog price target raised to 175 from 150 at Bank of America. Don't really see anything else here news-wise that we need to be aware of. Here's what we had, as you could see on Wednesday. Oh, and I think I said Friday, didn't I, just a second ago? Of course, the market was closed on Friday. This was the half day from Thursday. So Wednesday of last week in the after hours, this thing popped. Datadog set to join the S&P 500. That's going to be really good news there. We popped. We traded a little bit higher on the half day, and we're kind of holding here today. I would imagine that inclusion in the S&P 500 means this stock is going to get bought more by institutions. I would imagine that that's the case. I don't have a position on this. I'd love to see it cool off. I'm not sure if we're going to do that. RSI here, 82.5. So totally overbought on this. But yeah, let me know how you folks are trading Datadog here. Again, I do see more green arrows ahead here. No question about it. Okay. You guys are asking about cores. Charles saying, why is cores dropping like lead with CoreWeave buying? Jeff, I'm just going to ignore your comments if you're just going to troll all day. I hope that's what you were going for. All right, let's take a look at CORZ here, see what's going on. Core is down 14.5%. Here's a look at your pre-market chart. Okay, so it looks like this popped initially and then reversed and is pulling in here. Let's see what's going on. This wasn't actually on my... Okay, so it looks like this news broke after we started here. CoreWeave to acquire Core Scientific in an all-stock deal to boost profitability and expand data center capacity. I feel like several of our guests that we had here, whether it was Story Trading or Adam Mesh from the T3 guys, I feel like they've been on this for a long time. They'll receive 0.1235 newly issued shares of CoreWeave Class A common stock for each share of Core Scientific common stock based on a fixed exchange ratio. Okay, so I wonder if it's in the calculation here. You were asking, Charles, you were asking specifically, why is Core's dropping with CoreWeave buying? I almost think it's got to be in this ratio, right? The amount of shares of CoreWeave that you get versus the amount of Core's CORZ shares that you have. That'd be my initial guess here, but I don't know without doing some math and kind of looking into this a little bit more. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to tell you that. Transaction is expected to close in the fourth quarter of this year. Okay. And they, Core Scientific, sorry, this is really difficult for me to read. Here, 13's here. Let's check in with 13. That'll allow me to actually go through the PR a little bit more. 13, good morning. How are you? You're smiling. Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm smiling because you're like, you know what? Let's bring 13 on so I can actually, do this and not have to make everybody wait on the stream. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I also don't want to just guess and be wrong about stuff. Like, I'd rather read the news and actually know about stuff before I make a judgment on it. First of all, good morning. Welcome back. Can I get a finger check as I did for myself here from 13? Bang, we did it. And then also 13, I know you're not, in the area here, but a lot of really terrible news out of Texas. So hopefully everything for you, your family and friends and everything like that is going all right.
We're all okay, but a lot of people are not. However you want to help out, just make sure that whoever you're donating to is legit. And we appreciate any help.
Okay. Good stuff. Glad you're okay.
Yep.
All right. So anyway, I left off here with cores. Did you look at this by chance? Should I move to?
I just saw that this starting to happen. I was taking a look at it while you were also looking at it. So I haven't taken a look at it deep enough yet. I was going through some other movers this morning. This one not really moving in the direction we like either. So that's why I wasn't taking too much of a look at it. But we can.
Well, so I think the thought here is, I think the next big step here is when you get some time, really have to go through that PR. I will try to do that here when I get a chance. But I think the big thing here is we want to know if this is a viable pullback here on course. And I think trying to figure out what price this is all gonna, to me it seems like this ratio here, like exchanging shares, this is why the stock is moving down, but I got to confirm that
ratios and valuations. I mean, I'm sure that with how high up CoreWeave is, it's going to kind of skew these ratios. So I don't know about that. There might be a situation where after this whole news kind of shakes out, CoreWeave ends up coming back in. That's just something that I would think about. So there may be some trade here, but I haven't looked into this enough to know if where entries and exits can be.
Okay.
Things like that. So.
Okay. You want to do the movers real quick?
Yeah,
Let's see.
sure.
I'm looking at my list here. I've got still on the list from requests from the group here is NVIDIA, Planet Labs, BBAI, and HIMS. I think even if we didn't spend time covering those, we're probably going to cover them at some point anyway. So I think
we've got time.
Yeah, I was going to say we've got plenty of time. I think we're okay doing the movers. Let's go ahead and do that here real quick. First one, actually, I had two pretty big ones here. It looks like there's a new one here. First one that I have on the list here is going to be ticker LGPS, Lima Golf Papa Sierra. Stock is up 180% right now. Let's see. Log Pro Style. Shares are trading higher after the company reported a year-over-year increase in full year 24 financial results. So it looks like a total revenue, 138 million. That's up 46% year-over-year. Net income, 5 million. That's up 133% year-over-year. Cash dividend for the 2025 annual grand meeting of shareholders, general meeting. Did I just call it a grand meeting? Good Lord. Share repurchase, dividend, performance share plan. A lot of really good news out of this. The cash dividend is 2 cents, 2.3 cents. And
we've known about that. We've known about that.
So it's not new. Okay, so interesting. So stock's up 188% now. It's actually taken another leg higher. Quick look around the horn here on this. 2.33% of the float shorted on 1.62 days to cover. That comes on 210,000 shares of volume. We've traded 31 plus million on this 6.7 million float stock. Crazy stuff here. It looks like we're taking another leg higher. What do you got here, LGPS? This is a penny stock. Damn.
Yeah, this is not something that's been around too long. It's a Japanese company. We did get news about the cash dividend back in May, but this is all subject to shareholder approval. That's what we just had was the big meeting with them. They approved the dividend. They approved the share repurchase, which it's interesting. The dividend and the share repurchase are almost exactly the same amount cash wise. But that's basically the reason why it's moving. It has great year-over-year revenue growth. Net income is up. So with the limited data that I have on this, it looks like things are doing really well. And looking at the chart here, it's we have run up to 301 this morning, still holding above VWAP. Don't know how much more is left in this, but it is really trying to turn around from the massive drop it had earlier this year. If you go to a daily chart, you'll see what I mean. So it seems like it found a bottom. And has been basing. You got to look at a daily chart to get what I'm saying. There you go. So yeah, we had this massive drop. We've been basing for a while. And now we are starting to get going here. I don't know how much is going to be left in this move, but it seems like we're still hanging out, above VWAP, and we could push higher. So just something that I'll be keeping an eye on as we go into the open. I'm not trading this one right now, but because limited data. But at the same time, could be a mover this morning, so I'll see how it trades once we open.
Yeah, normally I would say, look, if we're already up 200% today, it's probably a better one to pick. But we've seen some of these absolutely go crazy to the stupid levels that we've developed off trend lines. So I'm not going to poo-poo anything here today. We're going to take a look at the technicals and see if there's any setup here. This does look like it's kind of struggling right now. We'll see what happens if this comes into VWAP. Okay, good breakdown there, 13. Next one here, this is ARTL, and this was one of the bigger movers prior to that news coming out there on LGPS. This is Artello Biosciences. Artello Biosciences shares are trading higher after the company's announced preclinical efficacy with ART 12.11 in a stress-induced depression model. So this thing popped as high as $32. We came back in and battled the VWAP. We lost that. So far here, we're holding that 15 EMA. Now, if we take a look here, they unveiled a new depression drug that had good data that shows Zoloft level efficacy with added cognitive benefits. So I probably have to go through the PR to see what those added benefits are, but that does read pretty well here, and it compares it to a pretty good selling drug. 2.18% of the float shorted there on 1 day to cover. That's on an average volume of about 500,000 shares. Today we've traded 3.8. The float here, though, something to keep in mind, it's very, very small. 542,000 shares in the float on this $20 stock. This thing could be a wild one here today. Also likely to be quite spread. 13, what do you think on this one, ticker ARTL?
Well, I do like this company's website because they provide a good amount of information on there. It's one of the things I like to go to when I'm looking at some of these movers, just to get an idea of how legit the company is. One of the first things they have on there is a big old link to their pipeline. And when you look at their pipeline, you'll find out that this particular drug they're talking about is the one that they are the original developer on. This is, they have other drugs in the pipeline. They're working with AstraZeneca for weight loss and muscle wasting drugs, those likely to counter GLP-1s, the detriment of those. They're also working with Stony Brook University for psoriasis, breast and prostate cancers, and a number of other drugs. But Artello Biosciences is the original developer and the only one for this ART 12.11 co-crystal for anxiety and depression that uses cannabinoids.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. So here we go with the cannabis drug names starting to become viable. It looks like, but still a ways away. This is preclinical. They have a number of phases to go through. So it's going to be a while. It's going to be multiple cash raises that they're going to have to endure in order to get this from A to B. Now, here's the thing. We did have a 1.425 million private placement that recently happened. I don't think that's going to be enough. They're still going to have to raise cash at some point. We do have their earnings in about a month's time, a little more than a month from now. We'll get a better idea of what that is like. And as you pointed out, that float of 542,000 shares being very low, it kind of sets up to do a capital raise and dilute the stock a little bit more with more shares. So I would not be surprised if we ended up getting that at some point. Can't say for sure enough it's going to be today, but this does look like a promising drug. It looks like we're going to see this in the future, but they are going to have to raise capital. So I would expect some more dilution to come.
Yeah, really good stuff there with the potential capital plans there. That's going to have an immediate impact on the stock price and thus our trades. The interesting, I was just kind of skimming this PR here. There's one section here, prior preclinical research studies in animals with ART 12.11 demonstrated greater behavioral and pharmacokinetic results compared to CBD or this other drug, Epidiolex. These new findings observed in Dr. Laviolette's laboratory are from the first preclinical study that compared ART 2.11 to a leading SSRI. And so this is interesting because there seems to be a re-examination of some of these SSRI drugs. And if you're able to get positive results with a different way, that could actually be a pretty big catalyst for other companies trying to do the same thing. So again, just kind of speculating here. I do want to, this is definitely going to be a story that I'm going to follow. And it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, 13, but it seems like this one looks to be a little bit more legitimate in its research on using cannabinoids as medicine, as opposed to some of some of the just kind of the throwaway PRs we get here. It actually looks like they're trying to do things here. So I think the results from this might be telling and might benefit other companies.
Yes. And we found out about all this. I'm trying to see if I can get the name of it. The 35th Annual International Cannabinoid Research Society Symposium that's taking place right now from July 6th to 10th in Bloomington, Indiana. So that's how we got these results. Keep an eye out for that particular symposium, maybe next year, since they've already done this 35 times. And
I was going to say, I'm entirely unsurprised to see any type of cannabis symposium in Bloomington. They've been doing that since I went to college there.
Well, all I'm saying is we have an event tied to this, and we could get some more movement out of this stock next year when we'll likely at some point get results of one of their clinical trials. That would be my guess at this point. And there's going to be other events that they can present data at, but at least this is one we can put in our calendar because they've already done it once. They might do it again. And this company is also working on other drugs with other major companies and universities. So okay. I think there's a lot of legitimacy to this company. We'll see how this drug they're developing themselves ends up working out.
Okay. Good stuff here. ARTL stock is up 111% today, up $11.50 on this move here. Now it's coming in from some of those highs, so maybe this will find a spot to bounce at, but a huge mover early on here. Okay, next is going to be MBio. This is another one that we should all be familiar with. I feel like we've traded this one a number of times in the past. Mustang Bio shares are trading higher after the company was granted FDA orphan drug designation for MB101 in two of these issues. Not going to try them there. You can if you want. 13. Let's see if we had anything here. Nope. That was the same. CAR T cells. Okay, quick look here around the short quick look around the horn here at the short interest. 0.11% of the float shorted here on 1 day to cover. That comes on a average volume of just under 1 million shares at 920,000. Today we've traded 27.2 million. The float here is 3.5 million. What do you think here on this stock that's up 112%?
I didn't look at this one, but I can already see that we've got some very similar PR about this particular drug, but it wasn't for the astrocytomas or glioblastoma that they're referring to.
Let's go.
It was it was for malignant glioma. So they're basically saying this this is receiving orphan drug designation for the treatment of something else in addition to the malignant glioma. So I guess we can go back and look and see how it traded on July 1st as to get an idea. It looks like we had a lot of volume, but not a whole lot of movement. Let's zoom in here a little bit more. So that day that we got that July 1st, we ended up getting up to the gap area from February 27th to 26th. I'm sorry, 28th. It was a weekend, I guess. 27th. No, I'm sorry. 27th to 28th. It wasn't a weekend. So anyway, that gap there, that's where we ended up going up to. Couldn't fill it until today. We just kind of skipped right over it. Basically on the same type of drug, getting orphan designation for a different reason. Now we're in this consolidation here that we end up getting through all of February. So I think my thought here would be that if we can get above $3, this would end up trading better. That seems to be about where you get out of this consolidation. So I don't know if we'll end up getting through that. I think you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah, there it is.
Spot on, dude. It just jumps off the chart.
Yeah. So I think that would be how we would want to trade this. Just use this this consolidation area as a kind of like a demand and supply zone area, like the hot. If we get up to 3 and start breaking over that, we're breaking into the supply zone. If we fall into this gap again, we're getting down in the demand zone. We'll see if which one ends up taking hold. But you can see some pretty clear levels of where support and resistance are. It looks like 215 could be one area to the downside we'd want to keep an eye on. And then, like I said earlier, $3 for that breakout into the consolidation.
Okay, just taking a quick look at the balance sheet here. They got about 14 million on the balance sheet as of the end of the first quarter of this year. They burn cash every quarter, but it's not a tremendous amount. So orphan drug, part of me wonders if we're going to be looking at capital raises down the line here. I know that the stock has already been diluted a little bit, and I was just trying to look at the kind of the bearish outlook here. I was trying to look at both outlooks here, but there's something that jumped off here. The analysis suggests a negative outlook for Mustang Bio due to its potential roadblocks in their clinical trials and difficulties securing sufficient funding for drug development, which could impact the company's ability to progress its pipeline. Additionally, a significant reduction in the price target reflects adjustment for an increased fully diluted share count following a recent equity and warrant raises. So their news reads well, but I guess it's just maybe this is not quite enough. They might still need to raise some more capital to kind of advance these. Just something to keep in mind here. As of the current reading, maybe not right away. Maybe you shouldn't expect an offering right away. Any insight on that? I know you look at these financials quite a bit on some of these companies.
Maybe this is another one we could tie to rates. I mean, all biotechs really will be. So there could be that angle. I don't know that they're going to need to do that right away. We do have earnings coming up in a month and 5 days, so we may get some more insight into their financial position at that point. As for raising capital today, I don't know if they will. It doesn't seem like it. Seems like they already recently just had some kind of capital raise. I'd have to go back and see when, but I'm looking at their balance sheet on a quarterly basis, and it goes from under 7 million to over double that. From their what I think was their third or fourth quarter into the next one. So they did do some kind of capital raise, or they had some kind of
February 6th, they had an offering here.
There we go. Okay.
For 1.5 million. So that was 495,000 shares at a price of 241, right where it is right now, interestingly.
Okay. So, I mean, that certainly helped it. I don't know if that was the only one they did, or if there was some kind of private placement or something that didn't cause share dilution. I haven't looked into it. But it seems like for now they're okay cash-wise. But you're right. I think at some point they are going to have to do that again. Maybe there's some other funding they secure through some other entity that they're working with. I don't know.
And the interesting thing here, this stock actually did pop and kind of found resistance right at that offering price. I know you did a really good job of looking at this where it kind of found resistance on the daily chart, but that actually also coincides with the offering price.
Right.
And that big drop down, that actually is shortly after, I believe, if I'm not mistaken here. Yeah, that's about 3 weeks after the offering. So all that stuff seems to be tying together here. We'll see on MBio if we get a trade there. Does sure seem like 250 is a bit of resistance up here. Okay, let's see. We've got 25 minutes left. Shall I keep going down the list? Do you have anything else on your list here that I haven't covered yet today?
I can
Those
go
were the
over
three big ones.
I can go over a couple of real quick.
Sure.
One was SONN.
Sonnet. Yep.
Yeah, this had no news. It was just moving on Wednesday and Thursday. I think it was moving. It had news on Wednesday, I believe, and then Thursday that was more of a relative volume. If we continue to move up, I would say that's momentum. But if we don't, then I'd say we finally run out of steam and we're coming back in. Company does need cash, but they did raise $2 million through convertible notes.
Yeah.
Didn't have a whole lot beyond that. I don't really know the reason it's moving, other than maybe it's just this momentum. But beyond that, not sure.
Okay. Sergeant Sexy asking about Bull, that's added to the list. We will absolutely take a look at that here. So just sit tight on that. Really quickly here on Sonnet, 1.94% of the float shorted here with 1.78 days to cover. That comes on 2.2 million shares of average volume. We've traded 20 million here today. This is pretty small here with 3.14 million shares in the float. Yassine says, I'm thinking Tesla long after the opening dip. First of all, so TSLL here, probably a pretty good way of capturing a Tesla bounce, Yassine. I would say one thing that you could look at, Tesla's currently pulling a little bit in the pre-market here. You might be able to trade that against 292 here this morning. That is to say, if it holds 292, maybe you can scalp TSLL to the upside. I want to see how the opening print does with Tesla. And I also want to watch the option flow. That was one of the things that I had mentioned when we first started covering some of the news. So, but I think you got your head in a good spot for taking advantage of that here today. Okay, 13. Sorry to digress there. Did you have something else you wanted to get in?
Just one last one.
Yeah.
Somebody already mentioned it. White chocolate mocha. It's NAK.
Yep.
This is Northern Dynasty.
Yep.
This one we've talked about before. This one has got a price target raise from 130 to 250 from HC Wainwright. I don't necessarily think that's the big news. The bigger news is that they're in settlement talks with the EPA over the Pebble project. Now, what's been happening with that is that ever since the new administration came in, there's been I don't remember the exact word, but let's just say there's been a hold on any further development with what this company's doing in Alaska, so that the new administration can assess the EPA restrictions or assessments that they've been dealing with up to this point. That should be getting resolved soon, and I think that's why we're seeing the actual movement here today. Is that the negotiations with the EPA are there's updates on them. I think we're getting to a point where we're going to have that resolved, and once that happens, this could have a really good movement. That being said, I still don't think this company is anywhere near the price it should be trading at. This is an export. This is not even ready to go. They have no revenue. Okay,
Yep.
They do have some cash on the balance sheet, but they have a lot of work to do in order to be an actual revenue generator for extracting ore out of the earth. They have all kinds of infrastructure they need to build up. They're not even started on this yet. This could trade really, really well just based on the speculation. But if you want to come down to the fundamental side of it, this has a long way to go. This could be a great miner stock one day. It's got a lot of stuff it still has to do in order for it to become a viable mining operation. So while this might trade really, really well, I don't think this is necessarily one that you're going to want to bet the farm on and hold on to, because you might be holding on to that for quite some time. But I still think that this might be a really good, day trade. It's just that, if you take everything into consideration, how far out they are with how they need to get their mining operations up and going, how they need to transport everything and all of that, it's a long ways away. So this might be a great trade, but investment, there might be some better price points that you could get in on this. They are going to have to raise money.
Yeah. And to your point about them having to raise money, 13, looking at their balance sheet here, $11.8 million on the balance sheet, and they burn anywhere between 3 and 5 million per quarter. And with a zero revenue company, yeah, they're going to have to do that. And they're going to have to do that pretty quickly here. Maybe not today, but in the near future here. Okay. Was that all you had for some of these movers? I'm sure we'll come back to these. Okay, let's go ahead and hit some of the stocks that folks wanted to take a look at here today. We actually hit some of them already, so that's great. I'm going to start here with Bull, and we're going to work our way backwards there. We'll do HIMS next. Here's Bull. So Sergeant Sexy, you were asking, let me see. Let me find that here. Where'd it go? Ryan, where's the support for Bull? So that's one of the things that we're going to be looking for here on the chart.
Sorry to interrupt you, but MBio broke out.
Okay. We'll go to MBio. Okay. Oh, we just talked about that one. Why couldn't it have broken out when we were talking about it, 13?
Because we were talking about it.
You're absolutely right on that. We'll go back and check MBio here in a sec. Webull shares are trading lower after the company announced a $1 billion standby equity agreement Thursday after the market closed. So minus 10% here today. This is how it traded on Thursday. And then after the market closed there, we took a leg down. We took another leg down here in the pre-market. Bull basically crashing all the way back to where it was on Tuesday of last week. That's a joke. We'll see if it can hold this 12.50 here. If not, maybe it goes back down to $11. As far as I'm looking at, as far as supports right now, this is what we're talking about. We're basically at the high end of a range here. I would just call this 12.50 just to try to make it a kind of a round number there. I would say your next support probably down here at about $11. So 12.50 and 11 is what I got. What say you, 13?
For me, I think I just need to see this hold the 50-day SMA. We're currently trading beneath it. That value is going to be at 1282. So once we open, I'd like to see a recapture of that. If not there, then the 20. We can't do that, then I don't know what to tell you. This thing is just not really trading that well. You do have a lot of basing here from early June to basically to the end of it. So if that would have to be my last line in the sand. We need to be able to hold that, because if we don't, then we're going to start making some of the IPO lows.
Okay, good stuff there on Bull. I'm glad I kept my FOMO in check with Bull, says Robert. Robert, I'm glad that you did that as well. That is deserving of a one-up. Those lessons learned are important ones. Okay, let's do HIMS next.
Okay.
Here is your HIMS chart, and I left it on a 15-minute chart. You can actually see we're in between two trend lines here. If we zoom out, this is where we left our charting from HIMS. We had a top side trend line and a bottom side trend line. 13, I'm pretty sure you helped me with this bottom one. I think I basically drew it off your instruction. The top one was pretty easy to see. HIMS right now sitting at $47. We're about 4 points lower than the 50-day. It does sure seem like we want to try and recapture that. Remember, this is on its way back up after the move down when they weren't going to be able to supply, I guess, Wegovy. Was it Wegovy or Mounjaro? One of the drugs they had a deal with Novo Nordisk that was basically stopping. We've started to recover here a little bit. Looking at the chart here, we would really want to recapture that 50-day. I don't think there was anything new news-wise here on HIMS or any type of, no new price targets or anything. Yeah, nothing new here really since that fallout. HIMS down here 2% here in the pre-market, basically holding on to where it was on Wednesday. It's lows from Wednesday. Here's what we're looking at here. So this is these trend lines definitely going to be important. I got this downside one here. Let's call it 40 and a half. Upside one here at 60. What do you say here, 13, on HIMS?
Well, I think that if we cannot recapture the 50-day SMA, that a test of 40 is coming. That's what it looks like to me.
Okay.
We've lost. So ever since we lost the 50-day and, basically the 60 and $50 level on that news from June 23rd, I believe is when the day it was, we have not been able to recapture the 50-day SMA and hold above it. We have like one close on the 27th of June and then, or maybe two, but could not hold above it. I think the failure to recapture the 50-day SMA is going to lead to more downside. And if it does, somewhere in that 39 handle, more specifically, I think is where we might find support. But I feel like we're going to go down to 40 and probably a little bit less than that.
Okay. Good stuff there on HIMS. Yeah.
Draw a line at 39. I guess that would be the best way to kind of illustrate what I'm looking at here. But
you got it.
I don't know the exact price. It feels like somewhere in the 39 handle is where there's going to be support. Just can't exactly say where, but you draw a line there, you can see that that particular area has both acted as support and resistance, both to the upside and downside.
Okay, good stuff. 15 minutes. The only stocks I have left on my list here is NVIDIA, Planet Labs, and BBAI. But as promised, let's take a quick look at MBio. We talked about it. We stopped talking about it and it broke out. So all of that seems normal here. Okay, so where's the next spot here? It looks like we punched all the way up to 375. So if we look at the daily chart here, where's our next spot? Oh, man, I tell you what, this chart is ridiculously hard to see. Let me see if I can do it this way. Nope. Man, these moving averages suck.
Looks like, before we had the drop beneath $4, there was some support kicking in from earlier this year, in January. It was kind of a rebound level there as well, that $4 level, but we finally did lose it in early February. That led to the drop down, the consolidation we were talking about earlier this morning. So to me, it seems like there's going to be a little bit of resistance just before 4 based on these wicks from the bottom of the price action in January. But $4 does seem like the next resistance level that we have to get through. And let's say we do. Where do we go next? Well, I'd say the 200-day SMA, which is at 567. So those would be the next areas I'd be keeping an eye on if we can get through 4, which looks to me like it's going to have some pretty good resistance. After that, the 200-day SMA. That's about the only two that I'd be looking at this moment.
Okay, and your 200-day SMA was at 567.
Yeah.
I can refine that a little bit. It sure looks like back here at the beginning of the year, in the end of January, we kind of had the supply zone in here about 450. The top end of that range was 5. So I would kind of say 450 to 5, and then again there at the 200, as you outlined, 567. Those will give you some more spots there for MBio. Nice little move higher there. Okay, 13, I'm basically going to turn this first one over to you here. This is Planet Labs that we want to take a look at. This recently had a pretty big run, right? So that Thursday here, we ripped out of the gate. We held the rest of the session there, and then obviously in the after-hour session, we're still kind of at the same spot here. So what do you think? Do we get a breakdown here on Planet Labs, or do we maybe test the high end of the range up here at about $7?
Well, it's nice to see that it's still holding above 6. 6 to me looks like the big spot that it needs to hold if we're going to continue moving up. Draw a line at 6. You can see back in February that we popped over that, kind of consolidated above there, and then we lost that level. Now we came back up to it. We were having a hard time trying to close above it. And actually, when we did visit it back up here in June, we were getting rejected and we went lower before we broke out later on that month, toward the end of the month. And now we're holding above $6, using it as support. So if you draw a line at 6, you can kind of get an idea of just how this has been trading around that price pretty much the whole year. And that's the level I'd be watching at. If we lose 6, start closing underneath that, I would say it could totally go lower. But as long as we hold 6, I think there's a good chance we continue higher. There's probably going to be some pullbacks. It's just that $6 level. I think this is where my line on the sand would be for this one.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there. Planet Labs cooking right along here. Next, we've got BBAI, and then we'll wrap it up with NVIDIA and take any new charts that you folks want to take a look at. BBAI here continues its impressive performance. You can see here, if we look intraday, you can see what a rise this had last week, doing a really good job holding these levels here. Definitely looks like it wants to pop above 8. We did have a high from Thursday here at 8 and change. Looks like that was about 8.27. So we'll see if we can test that range here. $8 for sure is going to be one of those areas first. To check first. Still really high short interest here on BBAI. High volume, so probably not going to be a multi-day squeeze here. On average, stock trades 111 million shares. Boy, this is a popular one, 223 million share float. Today we traded 6 million, but so far it's holding this area. Do you have any spots off the chart that jump out to you, 13?
8 certainly does.
Yeah.
So does 6. 6 on this one as well.
Okay.
So
let me mark that actually real quick.
Just based on all the price action we've been getting this year, very, very similar to the way we've seen Planet Labs price action. Not exactly the same, but in February we did rise, pretty significantly. Kind of went sideways for a little bit, then dropped back down, found the bottom, consolidated, and then here comes June again. We broke through, and we're trying to hold at these levels now. To me, it looks like 8, based on Thursday's price action, was the level to get over. Could not do it. So I think if we get above 8, it could continue to trade up. The problem I have is that it's very, very extended. Yeah. So I would think that this has a much better chance of coming down than it does going up. And if we do go down, then we want to see that support kick in at 6. So that's what I would be looking at with BBAI. I think this is kind of overcooked. I totally could see this go higher. But I feel like we do need to have this one cool off before that happens. So we'll see if we end up getting that.
Okay, good stuff there. The pullback off of this high now gives us a trend line to take a look at. We'll see if we pop through that trend line there. Okay, next here is going to be NVIDIA. Here is your NVIDIA chart. NVIDIA down by about 9/10 here in the pre-market. This also has been on a pretty good run. RSI telling us maybe this should kind of take a break here, pull back to that 20. Your 20-day moving average here at 149, so a good 9 points below where we currently sit. There was nothing really new here as far as news on NVIDIA. Looks like, let's see, price target raised to 190 at Citi. Remember, those are 12 to 18-month targets. We're sitting here at 160, so it's really not all that far off. I don't really think there was anything else notable on this. We did see more of a kind of a diversification from some of these big tech names. Maybe we see some more of that here on NVIDIA. What do you think on this one, 13? Nice little move to some new all-time highs here. What do you think the next move is?
I wouldn't be surprised if this continued to go higher. If we are going to look at some support levels, if it does come in a bit, 150 looks pretty solid. Draw a line there. You can see that that's kind of been the level to get over, going all the way back to November last year. Now we've finally broken through it, and that's also helped lift the some of these SMAs, including the 50 and the 200, which recently golden crossed. If we came back down to the 20-day SMA, I think that would be a decent enough cool off. But it would not surprise me if this continued to grind higher.
Okay.
I don't necessarily agree with the valuation. I think I've been pretty clear about that.
Yeah, you have.
I'm not gonna try to be wishful or anything. It looks like it could go higher, but 150 is going to be one of the earliest levels of support if we do get some pullback here.
Okay. Really good stuff there on NVIDIA. We'll see what we get. Let me know if you folks have any trades here on NVIDIA. Lion here, BBAI. Well, I'll take this for sure. Lion here, very specific. It will probably retest 620 before it continues its move to the upside here. So Lion looks like 620 is your pullback. That's going to be this little gap area in here. 13, that's only 20 cents higher than the $6 level you just had me add. So that makes a lot of sense there, Lion. We'll see if we do get that pullback. That would actually really help some of these overbought indicators.
Regarding that gap, if you look to the left, and you can see on February 26th, that's pretty much where the gap is. Yep. Based on the wick there. So that's also a support area. I do like that area, but I wouldn't be surprised if we did end up going lower. But it's a good area where at the very least, there'll be a bounce.
Yeah,
I agree.
Joe here saying, to some extent, I think BBAI is surfing the wake of Palantir. Just right there. I would agree with that. I think that's definitely happening here. All those investors who regret not buying Palantir at 40, you could throw me in there. I traded it around there, but I traded it using a multi-leg option strategy. I did not hold any for the long term. I probably should have at that point, to be quite honest with you. So I actually have some of that regret here, and you're absolutely right on your assumption, because it has actually caused me to take a closer look here at BBAI. No long-term ad yet for me on BBAI. But that's good stuff there, Joe. Day trader here saying, I would love to see that pullback. I traded it from 637 to 818 last week. That's BBAI. Let's see if we do get that pullback. A hold at that level might set up for another long. That's actually a really good trade there, day trader. Good stuff on that one. Okay. ENVX. And then, Joe, you asked about Circle. Yeah, we should have enough time for that. No problem. We should be able to hit both of those. Here's ENVX. This is one that Kevin wanted to take a look at. This actually has a pretty sweet chart. ENVX here, I think that the bottom is in. I know we're kind of trading sideways. The one thing here is that you do get this type of action, right? You kind of get these spikes that come back in, and they create this downtrend. I know I kind of cheated a little bit. Maybe I'll do this.
Really nice to have a 2x from May, though.
Yeah, let me do this. Let me settle on this trend line. This gives us a little bit of a higher target, full disclosure. But we have pushed up here. The silver cross, is that the 50 through the 113?
No, that's the 20 through the 50.
My bad. Okay, well, we had that silver cross back here in May. We do have the 50-day moving through the 100-day as of today. This is actually gapping up 8.82%. In Novix, shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q2 financial results. So that's pretty good here. It looks like, let's see. Q2 2025 revenue, 7.5 million. The estimate was for 5.57. So that actually looks pretty good. EPS of a 15-cent loss. That was slightly better than the 17-cent loss that was expected, and it received a buy rating from Northland Securities. Quick check in on the short interest. I'm struggling today on a Monday. 32% of the float shorted here with 12.35 days to cover. Yeah, this definitely has some squeeze potential, and it has a chart that's helpful, or a chart that looks like it's going to break higher here. One thing to note, float 143 million, so pretty thick there. On average, stock trades 5.2 million shares. We're not quite at a million today, but I absolutely expect us to go there. What do you think on this one, 13?
I think it's a little extended, though it does look like it's on a really nice move upwards. Maybe there's a bit of an inverse head and shoulders happening here. I don't want to say that that's the case, but it looks like there could be, at the very least, some kind of rounding bottom. But because we haven't really had a meaningful pullback since May, I think that would be something that we have to see next. So if we do get that, $12 is going to be one of the earliest support levels. So I think that one's pretty clear. Then you have the 500-day SMA, and then 10. Those three areas I would like to see get tested for support, because with a 76 RSI, I would like to see every stock go up and reach new heights, but at some point they do get extended. I think with ENVX, that's about where it's at. It's getting really extended. So those levels that I gave, I think where we could see some pullbacks to, I think that would be healthy for the stock. And if it does get down to there, those would be some good areas that we want to see some turning around. If they do start turning around, maybe we want to take a bit of a longer trade in this. I don't know enough about this company, but based on this price action I'm seeing, I do feel like this does need to come back in a little bit before it is able to go higher. 12, the 500-day SMA, and $10. Okay,
sweet. Kevin, let me know if that was helpful. Good stuff there, ENVX. Thank you, 13. Okay, what was the other one here? Circle. Joe had asked patiently about CRCL. This, of course, obviously moving on that whole stablecoin news. Finally, we had a bit of a pullback. You can see here on the daily chart, the 20-day moving average at 171. We're currently at 188. Looks like this pullback is kind of doing it here. Here's what I would look for. I would basically just kind of box this out a little bit. Let me see if I can do this here real quick. Where's my rectangle? Where's my, oops, I keep clicking the wrong thing here. These hide in here. Okay. Oh my God, I'm getting an alert. I can't click on the right thing. This is basically what I'd be looking at here. Which end of this sideways area do we break out of? We're currently at about the top end of the range here. So if we break out of this, maybe we do try and make some more new highs. If we break down from this, I think we've got some pretty clear level on what our next support levels are here. 150 for sure going to be the next one. Maybe even 138. That was another high. Consolidation zone beneath that at 112. I don't know if it's going to go beneath it. I feel like if this breaks down, we're actually going to have some easier targets. If this breaks higher here, I'm looking at maybe 228, 260 to 265, and then that all-time high. Not sure if we get there again. Volume continues to decline here. What are you thinking here, 13? What do you think on Circle?
So just some two levels that stand out to me are 200 and 160. So okay. 200, if we break above that, I think we may end up seeing this continue higher. If we don't do that and we start trading down, we lose the 20-day SMA, which I think is going to provide some support.
Me too.
I would be looking at 160 as a breakdown level, and you can look and see what happened back in June. There's a couple days in June, the 16th, 17th, and then on the 18th, we broke through that 160 level. But those two previous days, we tried to trade it. We traded above it, but was rejected. No closes until that Wednesday. So to me, that establishes 160 as a pretty key level for support. That whole trying to get up above it and then a big move above it. That's why I like 160. So we'll see if we get that support if it does come down. Now, I think we are open now. Yeah, we are open.
We are open here.
MBio is ripping.
Yep, I've got MBio on the screen here. Yasin says Circle's going to 250 here. We'll see if we get that.
Yeah, but I like 250 as a breakout spot if we end up getting that here with Circle.
Okay, we're going to need a sec for the chart element to keep up here. Price is indeed correct. Right. MBio above 4 now.
There it is.
430s. MBio ripping here. So you were absolutely right on that MBio rip right out of the open.
Still got some pretty big consolidation to get through from January, though.
And really quick here, sorry to change tracks here, but the results of that poll are in. We asked about the America Party that Elon Musk started over the weekend. 30% of you said love it, but it might be bad for Tesla. 29% of you said love it, Tesla will be fine. That's a total of 59% of you saying that you loved it. 20% of you said hate it, it's bad for Tesla, and 19% of you said they just hate it. I think we can infer from that you hate America. Just kidding. Anyway, it looks like 39% says they hate it, 61% says they love it, and it looks like a majority of folks think that this is going to be bad for Tesla.
Well, Circle is really close to 200 now, 198.50. We have, let's see, some of these other movers that we were looking at this morning, ARTL, that's not really doing a whole lot at the moment. LGPS, kind of sideways as well. SONN, that's dropping. MBio popped up to 434. That's come back down towards where it opened now. NAK, this had a pop up above VWAP. Now this is kind of dropping. This might end up going under 160. So we'll see if the 65 EMA can catch that and help support it. And then BBAI, that just popped up to $8 and came back in.
Okay. Really good stuff there. BTBT, this got mentioned in the pre-market. We didn't have it on the list of things to cover here. BTBT was higher in the pre-market. This ripping out of the gate here, 360 now on this move higher. What was do we have news on this? Bit Digital. And actually, this is interesting too, because Bitcoin's down from the overnight highs. Bitcoin here sitting at 108.7 on the futures chart here, excuse me. Bit Digital raises 172 million in a public offering, converts treasury by selling 280 Bitcoin to acquire 100,000 ETH. So day trader, really quickly here, what do we do if these companies that have some type of crypto treasury strategy, what do we do if they morph from one to the other? This one looks like it's selling some of its Bitcoin to move into Ethereum. Did we have this on the BTC? You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to add this to both, because I think we also then might be able to look at overlap. Yeah, get in there, 13.
SBET is on the move again. This
was a wild one.
This one we traded on Thursday. This had a pre-market high of 1447. We're almost there, trying to touch that again. But what happened as it hit that pre-market high just before the open, we sold off, and we never got back up to that level. So this is something to point out here with SBET. We did have a nice rise, could see 1447 again, but I would be very careful of a pullback like we had last time. So just pointing that out there.
Okay, and real quick, sorry, 13. Just to kind of go back to oh god, Bit Digital, BTBT. I wanted to check in here. I'm sorry I didn't have this stuff memorized. They sold 280 Bitcoin to acquire 100,000 ETH. They actually had 417.6 Bitcoin. So it looks like they sold just over half of their position, but they're still holding some of it. So this now, their treasury has multiple crypto coins in it. That's BTBT. So they didn't liquidate their entire Bitcoin holding. They liquidated just over 50% of it and then moved that to Ethereum. Okay. RGC, this was another huge winner. This actually going for the pre-market and Thursday highs. Where's Crow? Where's Crow today?
2945 is the level it's looking for.
Perfect.
SBET, this mentioned that Tom Lee pumped this on Thursday. I do remember that.
Yep.
So we didn't get the movement we were looking for that day, but this is much more. So it just broke through that 1447 high. This thing is looking for 15. Let's see if we can get an idea of where this is going. I mean, remember, SBET, this is that one that ran all the way $124 in a few days. So let's see what we got here. We could see, okay, so 1516 is where the 65 EMA is on the daily. That could be an early resistance spot. As a matter of fact, did we just hit it? We did, didn't we?
Sorry, I was looking at BMNR. Really quick, folks. Yes, BMNR is halted. Some of you were asking. Sorry, 13. Here's your SBET chart.
We did just hit that. So 1517 is a high. I was just talking about the 65 EMA on the daily. That being 1516. And right as I said it looks like we popped up to that. So that's going to be one of the earlier resistance levels we get through. If we get through this, we're pretty much in gap fill territory.
Okay.
That's basically where we're at. We get above that, we're in gap fill territory, and that gap goes all the way up to in the 20s, the high 20s.
Yeah, that's an interesting spot there, 13. Let's see if we get through 15. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna put this one on my side chart here. And we'll see on SBET. We're also we went right to the first resistance, the second resistance pivot there on SBET.
And the MACD for the on the daily chart for SBET does look pretty interesting. Like it's signaling some higher moves coming up in the future. So if we get above that 65 EMA on the daily, I think that's going to be another signal that this is going higher.
Rocket, ticker RKT, just straight down out of the open here today.
Okay.
So that's also pulling back. That is down 3.5% here today.
Oh, because they had an offering.
Yep.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's just one more example of how offerings can pull a stock down.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about that one. Still on the thesis here for we're getting a rate cut by the end of the year, and that's likely going to cause Rocket to go, but not today. Not a great day here on Rocket. Ondas, you guys mentioned that news on Ondas. That popped a little bit here, pulled right back down to balance. I wouldn't be shocked if this thing closed red on the day when it releases this news. This is going to be enter strategic partnership with Clear, that's Clear with a K, to expand access to non-dilutive working capital across emerging defense technology ecosystem. Seems a little bit fluffy there. Maybe if this does kind of help to access some of those funds, maybe they'll dilute less in the future. That'd be really helpful for us that are holding long-term. Ondas holding higher here by plus 1%. Jay Rice is on vacation. Mullen is popping as if, man, oh man. Did this have news? I'd be careful with this. Don't trade I don't really see a whole lot here. Mullen up 52%. The ghost of Jay Rice is what's driving this one.
BMNR was getting mentioned earlier. This has been halted since it's just unhalted, I think. BMNR.
Yes,
so it was halted the upside. Okay.
Yep.
It just unhalted. I was going to ask, how long do we have left in this one? Guess I got my answer. Let's see how this one trades. Looks like we got some resistance at about 135 if we continue upwards.
And also, I've got SBET pulling back to the VWAP here. So we talked about SBET possibly moving higher. This is kind of having a nasty pullback, but looks like it was maybe trying. Yeah, this right at its VWAP.
These a lot of these we were talking about this morning having a really big pullback. BBAI that went from $8 and it dropped down to $7.22. We're just getting there's a lot more whipping around here. BTBT doing the same thing. Looks like MBio that's still holding up. 468 is the high, but this looks like it's just setting up for the next push higher. We'll see if we end up getting that. SONN this is losing at 65 EMA. ARTL another one from this morning, and LGPS those are both trading lower.
Here's Wolf WOLF. This is actually trying to take out the pre-market high. So Wolf Speed appoints a new CFO.
Was that BMNR? Yeah, okay. So that BMNR, that's still trying to push higher.
New CFO. I don't know if that can stop the chapter 11, but WOLF, excuse me, right at those pre-market highs. How's Coors doing? Thinking about it, that was down here. Oh my God, it got even worse. This was down 14% when we first took a look at it. This is down 23.5%. Doesn't look like the bottom is in yet here. CORZ. How's CoreWeave actually responding to this? CoreWeave down 4.3%.
Core is getting support from the 20-day SMA. Interesting. Circle pulled back, still green so far.
COGT, this is Cogent Biosciences. Shares are trading higher after the company announced top-line results from its part 2 of the Summit trial for non-advanced systemic mastocytosis, showing clinically meaningful and statistically significant improvements across the primary and key secondary endpoints. This held higher in the pre-market, now took out those pre-market highs. Watch for a possible pop above 10 here, COGT. Sorry, get in there.
I was just going to say, because thinking about it was
me too.
mentioning cores, and I was just like, it's probably just a matter of figuring out, what the value of that 0.1235, of a CoreWeave share is, and then looking at that value and saying, okay, well, where is that in relation to cores? If it's lower than where it is now, well, yeah, it's going to come down. It's like I said earlier, it's probably based a lot on these valuations of the current companies. And you have CoreWeave, which is exuberantly high. Cores also very high, but probably not as high as it needed to be in order to not have a huge drop as a result of this all stock exchange. I lost sound.
No, he said it's back now. You didn't, it didn't lose for me. Really quickly here, SBET. This did pull back to the VWAP. I opted not to take any of that. It kind of looked weak right at the VWAP, but a huge pop off of that, almost a full $1 back to 15. We're wicking up here at 15, so I still think 15 is going to be a key level to the upside. No position on this. Absolutely wild. Spread quite a bit right now. And there's a bunch of volume in here. Be careful if you take SBET. I'll see if I can get a buy spot on this one, but no buy just yet. MBIO, we taking another leg higher here. Sure looks like this is going to try and go higher also on MBIO.
Yeah, and if there's also another gap fill, but we have to get into the 8 handle. So let's see if we can even get that high. It looks to me like from here, about $7 would be the next big resistance area. Maybe just before it, like around maybe 640, somewhere between there. 640 to $7 looks like the next resistance area.
MBio going to 5 here. Core's trying to bounce. By the way, Tesla, we talked about the pre-market level. I don't want to get too excited yet, but so far that level is holding here on ticker TSLA. That pre-market level of 192-ish. I've currently got it at 291.80. But right in here, this level's holding. If Tesla can start to firm up here, down 7.5%, we might have a bounce trade on our hands. Watch Tesla, though. No position yet. I'll wait for it to confirm its move. Is he mentioning Uber here today? Uber up 1.68%. Let's see if Uber can finally reach that $100 level that it sure felt like it had a magnet for. Uber above the trend line now. We can delete the possible head and shoulders here. And the previous one, as both of these were invalidated. Actually, Izzy, this is a pretty strong looking move here on Uber. I almost think $100 probably your next target here. Good morning, Jay. Great to see you.
Be careful with SBET. I'm not a little concerned about these wicks that they're starting to print here. Keep an eye out for a loss of the VWAP. Just don't like the way these are starting to form. It usually downside usually follows when you get some formations like this. So just be careful here with SBET.
Okay, SRFM was another one. Did I get that? Or is it SRFM? Yep. Surf Air Mobility. Wow.
And Bio. Crazy.
Yep. Daniel, good stuff on that call. You were all over that one. Here's SRFM. We just took out so already today, we took out the intraday high from Thursday, the pre-market high from this morning, and we actually just started the second leg higher here. This stopped at 450. That's going to be your next spot for sure. 450 here on SRFM.
Daniel, I love to see the discipline. I think you're referring to MBio. It's probably going to 7, but he's done. He's done what he wanted to do with the trade. And it doesn't matter. He's just saying, what does it matter what happens with this now? He's locked in his money. He's done with it. So there's no pressure on the stock or for him whatsoever. I love it. I love when you get when you hit your goal and then you don't get tempted by trying to trade even more and end up losing some of that the proceeds you got. That's great. Great discipline. Love to see it. MBio 574 right now. Looks like NAC.
Oh my God! What a move here on MBio.
Mm-hmm. Probably one of that makes it now the best mover this morning, I believe.
Yeah, it does. This thing's up 383% right now.
Yep. Your broker says buy orders for LGPS are not allowed. Yeah, Big Bear. That's something that some brokers will do because they take it upon themselves to want to protect their clients. So they'll just basically restrict certain shares if they deem it to be too risky. ARTL looks like that's still trying to turn around. Need to see a recapture of 24.
Tesla here looking like this might break down as we really couldn't hold on to 292. I'm going to give it a little bit of a go here, but sure looks like this is hunting lower on Tesla. NAC, which is one that you mentioned earlier, this looks to be trading to the high end of the pre-market range. 180 still the spot there on NAC. SBET, by the way, coming in here. That was a good precautionary warning there, 13. Looks like that came in.
Those wicks.
Yep.
They usually are pretty reliable in indicating when the price is going to start coming back in. Now we are losing VWAP, or we're in the process of it. Let's see if this candle right here ends up closing beneath it. But yeah, there's just some little bit of caution here with SBET as we got those upper shadows. Maybe this trade's better later on today, like it did on Thursday.
You guys were asking, or you were mentioning VOR here, VOR. This moved off of $2 up to this 240 spot here. This was one from last week. Looks like we're getting a little bit of continuation here. Big Bear Hug says, Ryan, I got Tesla at 270. Can you check the option interest, please? What is it that you want? I don't understand.
I think the open interest in options, maybe. I'm not sure.
270? Yeah, we can do that. I'd be looking at the August contract, by the way, now with only 11 days left in the July contract. I'd start to look ahead to the other month here. 270, there is definitely some interest here, but it looks average. It doesn't look above average at all on the open interest. The August 270 put, yeah, there's about 7,700 contracts held in the open interest. That's about average for this thing.
SBET getting lifted back over its
every
feedback.
position I have is down. Every single position I have is down today.
We'll see if SPEC can close. Like we're still looking for that close in this candle above VWAP. It's going. The price is going above and beneath it. So how this candle ultimately ends up is probably how we're going to be able to get an idea of where it's going next. So I've got another minute left in this candle. We'll see what happens. MBio new high 636. Looks like NAC almost hit 180 before it did one. Let's see if it can push through 180 or if we are going to get some more pullback here.
By the way, a lot of the Tesla option trades today, these are clearly short-term trades. A majority of these unusual purchases here have the 7-11 expiry. So this Friday is 7-11 for those of you that are into those weird number day things. Anyway, mostly here, I would say there's both put and call buying here. I would say there's a slight skew to the put side here. It looks like more bearish bets on Tesla. The strikes look to really be anywhere between 280 and 290. There's a couple of 275s in there. There's a couple of 300s in there, but most of them seem to be the 280 to 290 strikes there.
Looks like we are getting a little bit of a slowdown here in some of these names.
Joe here saying almost everything I watch regularly is red. Surprised the SPY isn't down more. SPY's only down 0.3 here, and it actually looks like it's trying to trade up, but I'm with you on that. If you looked at my P&L slip, it actually looks like the market is doing a lot worse than it is. But at least in my specific example, it's the small cap stocks that are really hitting me. The large cap stocks they're kind of floating around here, but like Portillo's, Ondas, iPower, Ideal Power, all of those are down here today. Voyager's down a little bit more. Tesla's still trying to hold 290. I don't know if I trust that one though. Sorry, 13.
No, that's okay. Just trying to see if I can get an idea of why we are, still up here with the SPY, but might have more to do with some of the larger names, just kind of hanging in there. Not Tesla, of course, but some of the other ones like Apple, Amazon, Meta. They're slightly green today. So.
Hey, Meadow, that was one that we took a look at earlier. I was kind of saying how that looked like it might have a potential double top up there. Oh, let me clear this Tesla out.
Our Alpha is mentioning BMNR.
Here's Meta. It's going for it.
Yeah, there we go. That's
BMNR.
So yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I think Samel took this again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She did.
This at the high end of the pre-market range there.
Look at SBET. We lost the VWAP, went down to looks like a support area from Thursday,
and it's bouncing,
and we bounced. Yeah,
it's wild on SBET. I'll tell you what, I haven't traded this one yet. There's been a number of bounces in here. Both of them I've missed. If I was trying to do this, I likely would have been shook from this. I'm glad I kind of just didn't do anything there.
I'm just gonna. I don't know if I'll trade SBET. It's just it's something you need to be kind of careful with, because I'm looking at this how spready it can be. The spreads aren't large, but it's still pretty illiquid. There's not a lot of shares being traded.
Tesla looking for a snap of the 290 to the downside right now. Win continuing to go higher. We got good data from Macau last week that sent Win, MLCO, and LVS higher. Those also performing well here today. Pete mentioned that Dell is doing pretty well today. Dell's up 1%. That actually is pretty good. Where are the Qs here? Where are the Qs at? Okay, Qs are trying to bounce here. They're down 0.4. They're trying to go red to green. Here's your Dell chart. This actually has been pretty good recently.
MBio with the biggest pull of the day so far. Interestingly, we have a bit of an inside day occurring here with the DIA. That's had a really nice couple of weeks.
Yeah, it has. And that would be an inside day on that would be unfortunate for the Home Depot trade. Although I should be very, very clear. that trade has been good. And the way I've traded it so far means it's impossible for me to lose. That being said, I'd really like to kind of juice the profits that I have on the trailing piece. So that would, an inside day would be a negative for that, net negative.
Izzy, how badly does IMRX look like it wants for? Just looking at the way this has been trading, looking at some past price levels and looking at where it's at right now, it wants to take out that 500-day SMA and capture 4. It hasn't seen 4 since March last year.
Okay.
Circle coming back, says Tess. Circling back, you could say. LGPS just had a nice move through VWAP. This is one of the movers from earlier this morning. That's Log Pro Style, the Japanese company. So let's see. Maybe there's some resistance around 220 if it gets up there. That would be my guess. BBAI.
208 is where I got the resistance area there on LGPS. Here, let me bring up BBAI for you, 13.
That's also turning around.
SBET, again, at the high end of the range here.
That's crazy. That's kind of engulfing that red.
Yeah, it sure is. Here, I'm going to bring SBET up. I actually did see some 15 calls go off for SBET on the unusual option scanner. Haven't really taken a look at the option chain. Tesla now sub 290. That looks like that might be going lower here. TSLA. So far, so much for the bounce play. Okay, looking at SBET here, there is a ton of volume today in the option chain. Notably, though, with the big pop that we're getting, the big volume that we see here today, those are in strike and expiries that have a bunch of existing open interest. So that might be closing here on this pop.
It looks like we're at a bit of a resistance area at 1450. No closes today in the regular session above that, but we might be getting one soon if we have a move over it. What are you seeing for 1450 strikes, if there are any?
There are no 1450 strikes. Okay, so the closest one is obviously the 15. So the July month 15 has a ton of open interest. In fact, the most of anything I'm looking at here with almost 14,000. That contract is up 65% today, and you're seeing about 1,700 contracts closed here today. I gotta think that's at least somewhat profit taking, but there's still a ton of open. Even if all of that was profit taking 13, there's still a ton of open interest. It is the largest of all of the strikes. 15. What did I tell you on Ondas, by the way? We got the news there. Okay. Reads okay, but there's really no numbers in there, and they don't really talk about sales or really anything that's going to affect the revenue and the balance sheet. And lo and behold, stocks going negative on positive news by about 4%. Tell you what, this has. I empathize with all of you folks. This has been really, really hard to trade. I'm so glad that we got multiple opportunities to take gains on this. Otherwise, my hair might be turning gray. It already is, but it might be turning gray at a faster rate. Man, oh man, this is a real bummer of a stock to hold. There's no question about it. Make sure you guys get gains when you get an opportunity on that. COGT, this is another one we talked about. Looks like a 10 pop to the upside coming here. COGT. SBET compressing a little bit in this 1450-ish range.
Yeah, 280 looks like one of the earlier support areas in Tesla for me. I think let's just see what 280 gives us. I don't want to speculate beyond 280 right now. I do have some other levels we can look at, but for now at 280, I just want to see what happens.
Okay.
Well, our alpha's all finished. He's out of BM&R and he's done. Well, I don't know where your entry was, but man, it's you potentially captured at least $10 if you were picking up the lows. Well done, our alpha. You have a good week. If you're not hanging out with
that's how you start off a Monday.
Absolutely.
Drivers training for Sun, Izzy.
Nice.
Good luck with that. I'll tell you something. If he passes, you're going to have another teenage driver to insure. You're definitely going to need some more help here from Mr. Market. Good luck, buddy.
Yep. Long KIE.
Good luck with that. Long what?
KIE.
Is that an insurance company?
It's an insurance ETF.
Oh, there you go. That way it doesn't matter which one he picks. You're going to have exposure. I love it.
All right. Looks like we're getting a pull in a lot of these names here. I'm seeing a bunch of red candles just in this current 5-minute, candle across the board here. SPEC coming in, ARTL down, LGPS a little bit down, SONN. This thing has just not had a good day. Maybe there's going to be some kind of turnaround here for SONN closer to the 200 EMA, which is about 453. No guarantee on that either. Probably could go right through it as well. It seems like the after hours, the pre-market low is 384. So it could even go down to that as well. MBio, nice move this morning. Trading lower now, but not completely breaking down. Still in the 5 handle. See if it can turn around. If everybody's having a good time here today, make sure you hit that like button.
Yes, thank you, 13. I'm so bad at that. I'm so bad at soliciting help for us. Please, guys, hit the like and subscribe so I can feel like I did something here today and then don't have to ask you anymore going forward. Tesla here actually trying to reclaim that 292. That would be something to watch. MBio getting mentioned here. MBio maybe bouncing back up towards the high end of the range there.
It's going to need to have, it's going to need to get more volume than this if we're going to see that 636 and higher print.
Zach, aren't we expecting a tariff announcement today? No, July 9 was the deal, or the deadline day that we were waiting for. That's Wednesday. Bessent was on CNBC today, although I didn't see what he said here. Let me go back to the, let's see. Bessent says we're going to have several trade announcements in the next 48 hours. I got a lot of new offers last night on Vietnam, says 20% overall tariffs. Trade letters are pretty standard letters. And on the Treasury or Fed jobs, says I do what the president wants. On interest rates, says market may be pricing economic fundamentals on possible rate cuts. On the dollar, he says it's neutral for currencies to go up and down. Or natural, for currencies to go up and down. It's not out of the ordinary. Could mean other currencies are strengthening. China's currency has also depreciated. We will meet with the Chinese counterpart in the next few weeks. Okay, so the big piece of news out of what Bessent said this morning, it sounds like you're going to get some formal announcements of multiple trade deals, more than one in the next 2 days. So by that July 9 deadline that we are talking about, you can expect more than one signed deal, according to Bessent. I don't know if that's going to happen, but from what he said this morning on CNBC, that's what it looks like.
And anybody that doesn't have some kind of deal by July 9th, tell me if this is the case. It seems like August 1st is going to be the start date for these tariffs?
Yeah. So just to be clear, it's a very good question. Just to be clear, the deadline did not change. The deadline is still July 9th. The tariffs from not having a deal by that deadline go into effect August 1st. Correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Buffalo by Bicycle is saying SoFi is breaking out. And Circle is up to $200. It did it.
Circle, man, that was the IPO mover to trade. SVRE, I feel like we talked about this one recently. This getting jiggy here today. Was there any news for this? No. Okay, that's just a mover there from the scanner. ARTL, this has been a pretty nasty disappointment after that initial impulse pop. SBET compressing now here. That's interesting. SBET kind of compressing right around this 1430 area.
Trying to hold above VWAP too.
Yeah, it sure is. Sure is. I've got VWAP 417 and 414, so in the exact same area there.
Looks like ARTL is trying to recapture its VWAP. Needs more volume, though.
Jay Wild, you're absolutely right. The market is indeed slipping a little. 13, when you were mentioning a bunch of the pullbacks earlier, I had thought in my head, what's notable is that the market is not really pulling back. Now it is. So NASDAQ, SPY, Dow, all kind of pulled to the lows here. SPY being the worst, Dow being the best.
Is SBET going to drop? I mean, it might. I'm not going to make any prediction on what it's going to do, but right now I'm looking at the VWAP, looking at the MACD. It looks like it could turn over if we don't get some better volume in this.
ET, indeed, I did say getting jiggy. I don't pay Will Smith royalties, but I indeed said that. Hopefully I didn't offend you too much on that.
It's like a slap in the face, isn't it?
I mean, if I start busting out Wild Wild West quotes, then y'all can be worried. But I mean, getting jiggy, come on. I grew up in the 90s.
Circle almost at 203 now.
Man, Circle, what a move out of the gate. Zach, with the level that I have for Ondas is 174. That's the trend line. That's, I think, what it needs to hold. 174.
And Bio trying to push higher here.
My producer asking me, how jiggy did I get over the weekend? I tweeted about this because I saw a former colleague, guy I really like, AJ, really good writer, really good guy. He had said he had partied like he was 18 over this holiday weekend. And that caught my eye because there were 2 days that I woke up this week and I was feeling great, folks. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to party hard today. Today is going to be a good day. Both days I was asleep before 10 o'clock, or I was at least in bed before 10 o'clock. So the partying like I was 18, yeah, no, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. So I didn't get that jiggy, I guess, producer, but I still had a really good time.
SBET coming down to some support areas from Thursday and then the pre-market today. So see if there's any turnaround here with this one. Yeah, August 1st critical deadline. Yep. And I think we're seeing some other countries kind of look at some of the deals that have been made and go, this is probably going to be our best interest to get this done.
Yeah. And Besant confirmed that this morning. He said they received a bunch of offers or inquiries right at the deadline. So again, we'll see how it all shakes out. EMVX, by the way, someone was asking about this one. This now curling, a recapture of the VWAP. I'd still watch 1250 if it can get up there. ENVX. And by the way, SBET broke to the lows out of that formation there. Yeah.
And so we're just looking for some support areas now. Looking like 1360 could be a pretty good one. There are some levels just above that, but 1360 seems like a pretty clear support area based on the price action from both Thursday's and today's pre-markets.
I did, since we looked last time, the only thing that I'm really noticing here per se, seeing a little bit more volume in the August 25 call for SBET. So I would imagine that on this down move here, you had a couple more traders maybe taking a speculative shot there. The ask there is 105 on that contract, so that's not terribly expensive.
To your point about Tesla turning around, my levels of to the upside are going to be 297, 300, and 309. So we're coming back up to 297. We'll see what happens there, but that's been a resistance area for me.
This is an interesting one too, because we talked about this really kind of giving up 292, peaked below 290 briefly, and the buyers just stepped in here. So now we're trying to reverse 295. 297.5 would probably be my next resistance area here.
Is SoFi running to 20? I haven't looked at SoFi today. I need to do that.
I haven't looked at it either. SoFi and UNH, two of the stocks that the group has been asking about that I just haven't even pulled up here yet. Let me do that here real quick. SoFi, wow, this is actually a pretty good move for SoFi. Look, we're looking to take 20 out here on SoFi. Man, who was it? Was Lion last week. We were talking about financials. Was it Lion or Day Trader? Maybe I'm mixing this up. We talked about financials last week. Someone suggested SoFi here. This one's working from that.
I like 20. It was getting mentioned, particularly if you look at all the price action from 2021 and 2022, at least a good portion of 2022. $20 was a support and resistance area all through this back and forth. It's kind of like the median of this consolidation too, a little bit, a bit higher, but look at the price action just in that consolidation. $20 was a very, very prominent level. I do like $20. Whether or not we see it today, can't say for sure.
Yeah, so here, if this was day trader specific to SoFi, Yassine mentioning Tim Melvin said financials. Tim Melvin, you can set your watch to Tim Melvin talking about financials and banks. When he does that, that's how we know the universe is in order. But I think day trader, you're correct. This was the specific one we were talking about. 20 and 25, his targets for SoFi.
Okay. No, I like 20, 25. I would say no. I don't want to say no to 25. I mean, I see how that's the case. It looks to me like 24 is going to give you the most more trouble than 25 at this point. Maybe we can both be right though. I'm not saying 25 is wrong. It looks really good to me, to be honest. But we have to get through 24 first, and that seems to be an area where there's a lot more significant rejections. But I do like both levels.
Zach here mentioning a portion of the market is turning around. Does look like it's trying to bounce here. Dow seems to be the laggard. Some of the individual names are turning around. By the way, SBET just recaptured its VWAP.
SBET is trying to turn around. LGPS, that's trying to recapture. It looks like it's trying to recapture $2. And you know what I was going to say? Why don't we get together some kind of bingo card for Tim Melvin? And whenever he talks about like banks or getting rolled up, or how he loves oil and gas, how he doesn't like. I mean, he's had a lot of things. We could do full bingo charts.
You know what's funny about that is that if we had an afternoon show instead of a morning show, we could probably come up with a Tim Melvin drinking game and apply those same rules that you're talking about. But that's trouble if we do that in the morning.
No, we don't want to drink in the morning. We are not alcoholics.
We're gonna have big trouble if we do that here in the morning. And by the way, just as kind of a casual mention here, Tim Melvin, while he's funny on here, he's actually even funnier off camera. And I haven't met him in person, so I can't say just yet. But man, he puts me and Anne-Marie in stitches when we meet outside of the show here. He's really, really funny. ARTL halted to the upside. Good mention there. And Kathy, I'm sorry I didn't get to this earlier. You were mentioning, this halted to the downside. Excuse me, ARTL. Yep. Beg your pardon. PTHS, the other direction. This halted to the upside. This one's a thin name, right? 590,000 shares in the float. On average, the stock trades 21,000 shares per day. Is this right? We've only had 37,000 shares trade here today?
Illiquid.
Yeah, I would be careful with this one. This up 53%. I'd be really careful with this.
Let me take a look at what is it PTHS? Okay.
PTHS, Paul Tango Hotel Sandy.
Yeah, so I'm looking at $3 spreads on this one. Be very careful if you're going to trade this. $3 spreads, illiquid, only a handful of people trading this. They're they're setting their ask like, way far away, and some guy that's hitting market orders like, gee, thanks. Oh crap. Be careful with PTHS. Yes, it's up. Now it's halted to the upside. Not on volume though, I would say. This thing, be very careful. It's only up. This move, this whole move is up of.
This is the comment of the day here, Joe. PTHS quickly turns to PTSD.
That's a good one.
Don't let that happen, Joe. That is the comment of the day. I understand it's only 9 o'clock in the morning, but that was a good one. CoreWeave here, maybe bouncing off of those pre-market lows. Did Core's CORZ finally firm up here? Well, you got to spell it right, Rhino. Maybe. I don't feel good about that one either here on Core's. We're still holding down here in a 14 handle. Did anyone do the napkin math on this yet? SBET, by the way, trying to move through 1450 here. Sorry, 13.
No, I think thinking about it had done the math, and it according to what he had said, it's supposed to be higher in the 19 handle, but that may also be on the expectation that CoreWeave is overvalued. I don't know. Here we go with SBET. This thing ripping now. Came back. Sorry to move on.
Were you confident enough to buy this move higher? I was not. I had it sitting here on my screen. I was watching it. 1450. Didn't buy it.
I'm already out of it.
Okay.
I was out at 14,
good quick trade there. Good on you.
I only trade the recapture of VWAP. I'm not in it for this.
Okay, good on you. I was too slow for that. That was good. That was actually, given everything that we've seen here, 13, that was not a terrible setup.
And LGPS was also not terrible either. That's still coming back up as well. MACD's curling. That looks pretty decent.
This is recapturing the VWAP as we speak. LGPS. Much lower volume, though.
Yeah. Yep. Good stuff. I'm just really happy that everybody nailed MBio. I wouldn't touch MBio now. It looks like that could go lower at this point. But I'm just really tickled about how so many people were able to get into MBio, make a great trade, and then they did it on their own to not be in it anymore, and just say thank you to Mr. Market and move on. I thought that was great discipline. That's already made my Monday.
We'll see if MBio comes back into that 4 level, which is right where the VWAP is at. That might be something. Also, by the way, Bitcoin, which tried to bounce and kind of move higher here, Bitcoin rolling over to the lows. So if that goes lower, I think you might actually see another move down here in the market. We were talking about the market looking like it might be trying to firm up. Looks like we're kind of still retesting some of those lows here. We're actually we are retesting the intraday low as we speak right now. 622.5.
So BTBT is coming back in after it couldn't go any higher than the 360s. Let's see if it breaks down. MBio lost 5 trying to recapture. SONN might be basing. Still not really that confident in this one. LGPS, I'd like to see this go over 2. If it does go over 2, this might be on track to try for 3 again.
That was LG. What was it again?
LGPS.
LGPS. Log Pro style.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
These names sometimes.
I know. Bill here. Bill, I like this. I like giving the trade plan here. I'm going to try and short Tesla under VWAP again here. So it looks like you're trying to short Tesla on a move down through the VWAP. VWAP, by the way, 292.30. We're what, $1.50 away from that? So more pull here. I could see that. And Bill, let me know, would your first target actually be the day low in case it bounces from there, about 289?
And then thinking about it, with giving the whole rundown on CoreWeave and cores, this is what I was talking about. Great information.
Thank you, thinking about it.
Yep, thank you very much.
Cores is worth $19.63 with CoreWeave at $159. But that full deal price, if done today, with uncertainty and thought CoreWeave may drop, there's a huge discount. Okay, so that's interesting then. So there's a huge mismatch then in the price. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Cores, C-O-R. I got to type correctly here. So you're saying there's a huge $5 mismatch in the price. And I would agree. I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's enough to account for, or excuse me, I think that's too much to just be uncertainty. That'd be something. That's something interesting to watch there.
ARTL was back open, lost 65 EMA, probably coming down under 14. Just looks that way.
Wolf here. This filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They got a new CFO here today. Wolf trading on high volume. This is actually higher by 56.8%. I'd still be careful on this one, but WOLF moving to the highs there.
Yeah, just not sure if we're going to see some of these turn around or not. They look like some of them are trying to, but I don't think this is where we want to try to be forcing any trades or anything like that. If things run, they run. If they set up for another trade and then we can figure it out there. But I think this has been a great morning. We shouldn't be getting ourselves in any trouble. Let's just be smart.
Yeah,
about
I'm already in trouble, but to your point, I'm not trying to get in any new trouble here, 13.
Okay. Yeah. So thinking about it, we can. That's kind of some of the things that I was trying to think about too. Is like, well, that's a little bit. If this is that, then why is this anyway?
ENVX, another mention here from the group from earlier, this higher now. That's interesting. We had that at pre-market move higher, a pretty nasty pullback. Now we're actually going 13 looks to be the next spot here. ENVX.
What do I see as upper resistance on circle? So 200 was when I was talking about today. We're through that now, but I still want to see it close above 200. Once we get that, let's see here. I would say
I've got 225.
Okay, I would say 220. But that's perfectly fine. The reason being is that when we came back down through 220, we tried to recapture it, and there were no closes above 220 when we were trying to recapture, and we were still printing higher than that. Couldn't recapture it. 220 looks like that's one of the bigger resistance levels. I do like 225. That seems to be about the top of where the recapturing occurred. But I still think I would just say both 220, 225. 220 comes first, so let's just say 220.
Okay, works for me.
BMNR holding around $7. I think a good floor. What are these speculative names? I don't know. Let's see. Bitmine Immersion. Okay, so it's one of those Bitcoin names. You're asking about $7 for BMNR. I think we are looking at different things here because BMNR is over $100. Yeah. Double check that for me, Steve, and I'll see if I can help you out there.
He might mean 7 o'clock.
I don't know.
Did it hold some area? Oh, God, what is wrong with me? Why can't I type? BNNR. Come on. Is this the same level that it was? Yeah. So I'm thinking here. I don't know. I don't know what he means. It maybe 7 on his time frame. Maybe he's in a different time zone. Steve, clarify that. Maybe 107. I don't know.
Well, let's see here, Tess. When it comes to bull, we're still in a bit of a downtrend since the highs from Thursday. So until we snap that, let's see here. I think the 65 EMA, if not there, 1275. Those would be the two areas I'd be looking to recapture. Then this might trade better, but volume's not that great. Still in a bit of a downtrend. I'd expect the price not to push higher through those levels that I just mentioned, just based on the way the volume is. I can't say for sure. Let me check one thing here. You said thoughts on this bull move if it gets back over 1265. If it does get back over 1265, I'd say it has to recapture the 65 EMA. That's been the exponential moving average that's been keeping the price from going higher since it lost it on Thursday morning. Just to the left, but
I really think it's almost more important that this gets back above 13. Yeah, 1265 is first to your point, but sure looks like 13. A recapture of 13 is really what this chart needs.
Yeah, for me, it's going to be the 65 EMA. I have that value right now at 1284.
Here, you know what? Why I'm not sure why I don't have the 65 on this one. I have the 9, the 15, and what happened?
Looks like MBio is getting mentioned again by Mama Bear. She's saying, I'll bring this to our attention. This is trying to push back up, albeit on less volume now than we had before. Large seller at 560. It'd be great if this continued to push higher, but I think at some point we do have to temper some expectations, especially when volume is not what it was earlier this morning when we were just moving up like crazy.
I see what you did there thinking about it, but we will not restrain 13. That's for
No.
sure. Real quickly here, Joe mentioning Lockheed Martin. They got a $3 billion contract. $3 billion contract is like getting $30 from your buddy for Lockheed Martin. Just going to throw that out there. That being said, we are still in the sideways area here, and it does look like maybe if we continue here today, we get a first close above that 50-day moving average. You know, two things that we're really waiting for on Lockheed Martin: a recapture of this trend line and the 200-day. It's quite possible that by the time we get up here, that these values are the same. We'll see here on Lockheed Martin. I do think this is going to go higher. I'll be honest with you. It seems like just with everything going on in the world, I don't really see these companies as necessarily being bad buys. But looking at the chart here, a recapture of that 50, that's the first thing on deck here for ticker LMT Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, I think 475 is an important level to pay attention to. That was a bit of a resistance level going back into last year.
Yep.
We broke out of that with tremendous authority, ran all the way up over 600, came back down. And we've been kind of consolidating, in, more or less in that range, but we have gone as low as 417, 420 when we had the Liberation Day happen. Liberation Day happen. And we have not been able to meaningfully get back above the 500-day SMA. So I think, and that's out at 475. So that area up there, I want to start seeing some closes above. I do hold some shares of Lockheed.
Yeah. And that area that you talked about there, that is actually the top end of this consolidation area. Jane here saying about 50 years ago, my dad said, just buy Lockheed. Anyone that saw the SR-71 Blackbird when that thing first came out probably thought to themselves, yeah, I should probably own stock of this company. They're going to be pretty important. And they just continued to prove that time and time again.
I think we might have another one of those crazy movers that does the gap fills. I'm sorry, that does the halts all day. That's PTHS.
Super thin.
This is the one that was gapping, that had that $3 gap. I'm just going to say it. If you're going to trade this one, understand what you're trading, that you carry tremendous risk doing this. This could really hurt if you happen to enter out of a halt and it just goes straight down. Very illiquid. If you're not already in this, I don't think it would be a great idea to chase it from here. But that being said, this could be one of those crazy, stupid stocks that just goes into triple digits and then completely craters right afterwards. So if you're going to trade this, my only recommendation, and I don't give any, is that you just be careful.
Yeah. Hey, good morning, Crow.
Hey, Crow.
Good morning, Crow. Loaded MBio at 5.
Oh, okay.
So that's interesting. Crow, that's not even one of the initial prices here. Crow actually playing this off the pullback. Crow, did you take that on this pullback down to 5? If so, you just leveled up. Fog saying, still waiting on my first retirement check from Lockheed Martin. Okay.
Well, did you work for them?
I was going to say, what stories can you tell us?
That's what I'm saying. I would like to know more.
Could you tell us?
Webble's still having a hard time trying to get up through 1265. We are right on the doorstep there too. And I'm still looking for that 65 EMA recapture. Volume is even lower now than it was when we were just talking about it. So just be careful, folks.
Oil, this is actually up by about 1%. Some of these cybersecurity stocks, they went lower on this move down lower with tech, but they're at about even. Excuse me. Sorry about that. SPY's kind of holding in here. I don't know, 13. Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I have a tough time setting up for a potential short move down this week for 2 reasons. Number one, we obviously have the positive seasonality trend that we've been talking about for a while. But on top of that, we also had Bessent telling us that we're going to get more signed deals in the next 48 hours. Hard for me to short that market.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. Like this has been the time where we've had great seasonality, and I would be looking at these high short interest companies. Maybe they're going to get squeezed. That's certainly a possibility. It looks like MBio is trying to try to go for 6 again.
It sure does. Real quickly here, Fogg, crew chief to the test pilots and worked on the NASA X-59 rate before I left. Yo, that's awesome. Yeah, that is super awesome. That is super awesome. Pretty cool. Palmdale, California. Good for you, man.
Wow. Yeah. And, you may not have been around this show a lot, but if you know anything about me, it's that I revere pilots and I revere the Air Force. So I'm really interested in hearing more about that. Thank you for joining us.
Costco, which pulled earlier, I think, who was it? Was that, who was mentioning Costco? Not Billy. I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
But you're out there.
Anyway, Costco pulled initially 976 looks to be the low. I think that recaptures 1,000. Honestly,
still looking like MBio is trying to push into 6. Volume's not too bad either.
Smoke Tuna, what does the Tuna AI signal say today? Anything good on that?
We are almost at 10:30. This is when we start to expect volume to dry up here in the market. So just if you got trades going, just kind of set some expectations here. We are going to see some traders go and start talking about their trades they did this morning with all their buddies at lunch. Getting close to that time. And Bio looking for that 6. So close now.
VIX holding here at about 17.5. Not really moving.
There's 6. Got a little bit of a seller's wall there at 6, trying to push through it. And there it is.
PTHS already pulled 4 points off the highs, 13. That looks like that's halted to the downside here. Or is this not halted? PTHS. This was the one that was crazy. And RXRX, by the way, that one we covered a little bit. This was straight down 488. That on the lows here today. Damn.
Oh yeah,
Here we go. Really quickly here. CoreWeave can issue up to 10% more shares without an IPO restriction. CoreWeave had 1.3 billion in cash at the end of Q1, not including credit lines. CoreWeave down 3.4%. Core's down 21.3%. Both these stocks under pressure here today. MBio above 6. We're going for this intraday high here. I think this is pretty much in the cards here. 640.
Yep. Absolutely. Well done, Crow. Well done, everybody else that was trading this. Almost there at, 636.
C Boogie's asking me, where's the bottom on AMD? Yo, I think we already put the bottom in. If you want my opinion on that, I think the bottom has actually already been put in on AMD, unless you're talking about the intraday bottom here today. Let me see what happened here.
Yeah, if that's the case, I like 133. That's been one of the levels I've had here for a while now. 133 is going to be the next support area, since we are trading beneath the 500-day SMA. The 500-day SMA's value is 135 and a penny.
Yeah, so honestly, what I had said at the beginning here is we really wanted it to hold this area. We've pulled back to it. So far, we've lost it here today. 13 is exactly right. 135 is the area that I'd like to see us close above.
133. Put a horizontal line in there. I think you'll see why.
Okay, let's do that real quick.
Look to the left. Well done, Crow. And well done, everybody that's trading MBio. You guys are killing it.
Yeah. Here's your 133 line. This was this was definitely a break. Yeah, this for sure is a really key area. So so I would say if we're beneath the 500-day now, so assuming we don't close back above that, $1.50 C Boogie, I think that's got to be your maximum drawdown here on AMD. I think if we lose that, we probably come in towards the 200. That's down there at 124.
We have the 20-day SMA beneath 133, and then beneath that, I also like 128. Those are all before we hit the 200. Not saying the 200 couldn't be, a potential support area, but if we continue to get this weakness, But I pretty firmly believe that we're not going to hit the 200-day SMA. I might be wrong about that if we continue to go lower, but for now, it doesn't seem like that is going to be the case.
No, and that's why I told him initially, I think the bottom's in. If we zoom out here, this move down from 228 down to 77, I think your bottom's in here. I think AMD, especially with the way AI is going, AMD, I understand they're playing catch up, but I still think that this is pretty reasonable. I think we've seen the near-term bottom.
Yeah, and
at least for right now.
The RSI has really cooled off, so this is exactly what I was saying. We were, up in the 140s. I was like, this is what we needed to see. Glad that we're getting it. Little cool off on the RSI. We're not overcooked anymore, so this could continue to come in a little bit more. That'd be great, and then have the buyer step in. We are getting close to a golden cross. We should see that this summer. I don't know we'll see it in July, but August certainly. I think we could if we continue to trade above the 200.
Yeah, that golden cross really coming up here. We talked about that.
Mama Bear's out.
All right, there we go.
Nice.
Really quickly here. Joe, I wanted to get this out here. Joe, bad day for the Mag 7 except for Meta. We talked about there being a lot of rotation out of some of those concentrated Mag 7 names. You're seeing more of that here today. Meta, however, this holding higher here by about 7/10. So we talked about Meta this morning. Talked about this probably setting some new highs here. Not today, but strong day for Meta. This is your leader, huh? Yeah, Apple turned around. How did NVIDIA do? That was actually strong this morning. NVIDIA also kind of turned around here from the morning. Okay.
SBET got pulled beneath back down beneath its VWAP, and this looks like it could go down to the 65 EMA. We are also getting I mentioned that SoundHound is past 11. Yep. Let's see here with SoundHound. This had a pretty good setup here, going all the way down to 1048 and rebounding. Now it's come back up to this after-hours consolidation that it was dealing with on Thursday. Gonna need to see some more volume in this in order to get through that, in my opinion. This is all consolidation from here all the way probably to about 1140. You're going to see some pretty. It's going to need some more volume to get through all that, in my opinion. Nice recovery though, and good mention. Thank you. Look at Trout Bum going in at bio at 460 and out at 690. Like, geez.
I'll take it. Good stuff for you guys.
MBio made it sounds like MBio made a lot of people's week.
Yep, sure did. And the one entry I was looking at just kind of went right by.
Mm-hmm.
Did not enter on it.
I'm just really glad that everybody was making money today. Had a good 4th of July weekend, nice long weekend, and then you come back and you catch a winner like MBio. There's nothing better.
So 13, I briefly mentioned this earlier. You know how I kind of said all of last week, hey, make sure you come back with all your 10 fingers. So my friend in Arkansas, yeah, everything's okay. My friend in Arkansas, they bought a ton of fireworks. They had catered barbecue for it. There were multiple families that were together. They have kids. They're doing all this in like this cabin that they had. And he sent me some videos, and I was like, oh wow, these are some serious fireworks. And then I didn't hear from him for about a half an hour, and then I got another text that said, holy F, man, my heart is pounding out of my chest. The box of 50 mortars got ignited and went off at once, and we're shooting at everything, and we were all and I was like, oh my God. Thankfully everyone was okay. He later sent me security camera footage of the moment that it happened, and everyone started to scatter. Wild stuff. Wild stuff.
But I've got a story just like that too. not from this weekend, but from like a long time ago, before I had kids, before I was married or any of that. Basically, a mortar cluster fell over, and it fell over towards us. So we're running back to our cars. Mortars are flying and exploding past us. I'll tell you all about it one day. But I had a very similar situation, and apparently so did a lot of other places over the weekend did too. I don't remember which state it was that had the entire barge of fireworks ignite. But it reminded me of the 2012 San Diego incident where they accidentally ignited all their fireworks off at once, and it just resulted in this massive explosion cluster. And just look it up. 2012 San Diego firework.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll still see what I mean.
Okay, interesting. Wolf here, continuing to move to
Alpha
the highs.
was there. No, nice.
What was?
Alpha was there in San Diego.
I was in San Diego. Okay.
When that happened, imagine it. You'll see when you watch the video. You'll be like, "Oh yeah, that must have been cool."
Okay.
Show was short, but man, it went out with a bang.
Yeah, I was gonna say that must have been short. I actually the way I was the 4th of July, just the way my living room is, I could actually see fireworks going off from my living room. It was awesome.
Yep, Zane. There you go. 7,000 at once. Yeah. One firework must have fallen over and said, "We send it."
Smell talking about concerts in London. Forget concerts. Who cares about that? Wimbledon is going on right now. I tell you what, that's a bucket list item for me. Sometime when Europe gets its act together, I'll go over there and watch the Wimbledon tournament.
So it looks like AMD's printing its first green candle in about half an hour since it lost the 35 level. So trying to come back up here. We don't have anybody in behind the scenes watching Wimbledon right now. Certainly not.
I don't actually. I can even prove it here.
Not you. I'm talking about producer.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I actually have CNBC on here. Problem with morning sports is that if I start early, getting back on track is extremely difficult. So I said, just out of respect for everyone here in the show, I'm not going to put the tennis on.
BTBT, we were talking about this morning. This has printed new session highs 370. There's a lot of sellers up at 389. So if this continues to move up, 389 might be about where the party ends. It's 4 times as big as it is as the sellers that are keeping the 370 price from seeing higher prints.
BTBT, this now new intraday highs. This is going higher here.
And PTHS, probably giving some people PTSD.
PTSD, yeah, there it is.
There's a lot going on the 4th of July in UK. Well, that's a difference because usually it all happens over here.
Best thing I saw was a meme of George Washington that said, "Have fun at work, England," on Friday.
That's funny. IMRX at 4, says Robert.
I'm hoping for, really quickly, producer, I'm hoping for a Djokovic Fritz final. I'd love to see an American win Wimbledon again. Yeah, get in there. 13.
Day traders right about BTBT. This stock, this just came out like when we had the whole crypto craze over the pandemic. BTBT was one of them. I remember a lot of these other ticker names that did very similar things. I think you had, and it was a lot of companies that really didn't have a lot to do with crypto. They were just mentioning that they were doing something with it, like we're going to start mining for it, or we're going to start holding it. BTBT was one of them. There was some other junky names, like I think SOS was one of them. FTFT.
That was a real one.
I'm trying to think some other ones. Chat, you probably remember some of them. But that was, there's a lot of names that just trapped a whole bunch of people, and BTBT is one of them.
Yeah, SOS was the nasty one. There were actually some Twitch streamers that got hit pretty bad on that one. Sweet one here saying it feels like we go lower soon. Yeah, it's actually felt like that all morning, but the market just won't crack. Even when we've talked about some of these pullbacks, Sweet one, we've caught them so far. Now, it's not to say that that's not going to happen the rest, but here, look what I'm talking about. This pattern here, like a number of times the market has pulled and it really felt like we were going to sell off, and then it didn't, and we just kind of bounced. I think the longer we do this, maybe we do end up cracking that there.
Yeah, it looks like that 622.50 seems to be a pretty good line in the sand there. I would say if we lose that, then we will probably see an accelerated move toward the downside.
Yeah.
It does seem like from earlier this morning, this pre-market price action was trying to put in that support area at 622.50.
ARTL here. This has been nothing but a disappointment. This thing just continues to move down. SBET here. Back to the VWAP, although this seems to be losing some steam as well. Now that I've said that, it'll make me look like a complete fool, but you're welcome for anyone that's long. We'll see. ENVX, this was a great call from earlier. Glad we ended up taking a look at this one here. This now higher, $13. Cores is recovering, says Charles. I was wondering if we were going to get any recovery in Cores or CoreWeave. This actually decent intraday chart formation. I'd want this to almost prove this a little bit more, unless I was working off profit.
Now with SBET, you do have a bit of a downtrend that we've been kind of getting into here in the regular session, the high being 1517. And now that we've got a second series of highs that happened about 25, 30 minutes ago, you can do a trend line here. And if the price does recapture VWAP and start to move up again, this trend line is going to provide, I would say, some resistance. Maybe it breaks through.
So help me out with the trend line again, because we did just recapture VWAP.
Okay, so this is for SBET.
Oh, geez, no wonder I can't see shit. All right, what do you got for me? I think I see it. Never mind.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So we are going to get some more upside. I would be viewing this trend line as a resistance trend line. People are going to want to see it get broken. I think we could see some resistance here. Let's see what we end up getting. But I think this is going to be a good area to kind of make some decisions on whether or not you want to be in this or not. Looks like MBio is just still trying to set up to push higher. Not sure about the volume, though. It needs to be better than this.
Volume has actually been pretty decent all day here on MBio.
It has.
MBio, excuse me.
But I'm just talking about, and that's kind of the point. Like if you look at the volume right now compared to these last few impulse moves that we've had, it's not anywhere right now near that. Now I mean, especially this current candle, we're about to close this 5-minute candle. This is probably some of the lowest volume we've had in a 5 minutes period so far this morning after the open. So that's kind of what I'm speaking on here, is the volume just isn't there right now with these large impulse moves up. These are better than this.
Smoke Tuna mentioning VIOT looks nice. I don't even know what this is. Viomi Technology. This is up 41% here. Internet of Things name. VIOT.
MBio certainly trying to push through 6. If the volume expands, it'll be great, but we need to see, it needs to be better than this. I don't know, we'll get that move up over 7 if with this kind of volume. BTBT, kind of the same thing. Is it possible looking for levels on SYTA? Sure, let's take a look at SYTA. I'm not in anything. I'm just kind of waiting to see what sets up. Maybe nothing does. But let's look at SITA. This thing looks like it's been on a bit of a rip this morning.
Which one? SYTA, SIATA? SIATA Mobile.
Okay.
It's actually a pretty nice move. What's the volume like on this one? Okay, pretty nice move on 2 million shares, 17%.
I do like 450. That was support in January. Let me see what else here. What's this high?
While you're looking that up, market is trying to find its footing across the board here. SPY, Dow, and NASDAQ all trying to hold in and maybe bounce again.
So for levels higher than from where we are right now, I like 420, 450, 5, and the 200-day SMA, which is at 559. So you could say 560 if you want, but those would be the levels I like to the upside with SYTA. To the downside, $3, maybe just beneath it at like 295, but that's where I would think support would kick in if not there, then one of the other smaller SMAs like the 50 and the 20. That's what I'd be looking at with SYTA. Hopefully that's helpful. Looks like VOR popped up to 263 just a moment ago. Came back in a little bit.
Robinhood looks like this is popping a little bit. Maybe we try 100 again there. You might be right on that.
And BioKnife, I guess the volume just wasn't able to take it higher. But it is getting a little bit of support. Let's just see what happens here. I no position in MBio anymore. I think people getting out when it was hitting that 7 was probably the best move. But still above VWAP, so let's see what happens if it catches any support from that.
Someone asked about ALLT earlier. I forgot what the question was. I'm sorry about that. And I'm sorry I didn't cover it earlier. Real quickly here. This is a lot. I'm serious. ALLOT. A lot shares are trading higher after the company announced it secured a multi-million-dollar deal to boost cybersecurity for a tier 1 EMEA telecom operator. This did pop as high as what, 950 earlier? It's come back in. Volume looks like it's dried up a little bit here. This is an interesting area for this stock. Move higher from this would probably set up maybe 12 and a half. Not one that I followed. Let me take a look at this, though. Network intelligence and security solutions for service providers and enterprises. Boy, this for sure should be added to the cybersecurity watch list. This gives me something to read about, at least.
Yeah. This one, to me, looks like 950. 950 is going to be the spot. I mean, you could, draw on 944 from the February 7th high. You could, that's where I would start, but it looks to me like 950 is what is the price that this wants.
Yeah. So you know what? Let's do this here real quick. Let's add this trend line that you're talking about. I'm just going to eyeball it, so it might be a little bit off, but we'll leave this on here in case we get to it. ET here. It's an interesting play in cyber, still early in the company, but it's like the no code of cybersecurity. I can appreciate that. I actually do like some of these smaller names. One of the smaller ones that I tried to find was Rubrik, but that's much more expensive. This is interesting. I appreciate you bringing this up.
Yeah, and I do like 8 as a support level. That really does stand out to me. $8 as support. So if we do come in, I'd be keeping an eye on 8. Wow.
Yeah, you're right.
Good morning, folks.
Geopolitical risk there. So if it's headquartered in Israel, maybe there's some potential geopolitical risk ahead of it.
Yeah. Wolf pumping up again. All right. It's hungry like the wolf.
Oh, I was for a sec there. I was thinking about singing a little bit of that, but I was like, nah. Smoke Tuna here mentioning loading CMND at 1. Stock's at $1.03. What's the catalyst there?
Sorry, Chad. I tried to get him to sing.
Yeah, hungry like the wolf. That's not going to be the one that's not the hill I'm going to die on. Sorry.
So with Clearmind, the only thing that I'm not looking at any news. I'm looking at the chart and I see that we had some pretty significant volume on Thursday. I would say that if anything, it's a relative volume play, especially after moving over and recapturing the 50-day SMA. As long as it holds above that, there is potential for this to move higher. And being that one of the movers that we talked about this morning was, developing a drug that's in the cannabis wheelhouse. Might cause some of these other, drug names that deal with the psychoactive drugs to move. And Clearmind is one of them. So just kind of some correlation thoughts there of why this could be moving. But I think more than anything, probably just a lot of relative volume it's drawing up. But it is encouraging that we are trading above the 50.
Okay, market here, after looking like it was trying to put it, market's still a little bit weak here, but the volume doesn't seem all that high. Man, my portfolio is a mess. This is one of the worst days that I've had in some time, and it doesn't even look all that bad. Every position I have still is down. Every one of them.
But we did have a really big move up last week. It seemed like Thursday was a bit of a blow off top in the SPY. Was saying that we could see a lot of selling and because we're seeing people, the market was illiquid on last week. People were probably already on vacation. They're coming back now, seeing that their portfolio was much higher than they left, and go, oh well, thank you, I'll just take some gains. That's kind of what the expectation for today was, but I don't think this is going to last. This week we may see some pulling back, but I think I still think we're in some good seasonality. I
Yeah.
anticipate we'll get this to turn around.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. The seasonality. I mean, everyone and their brother was talking about it. Maybe that's part of the reason here. I don't know. We'll see. The Besant this morning saying that we've got signed trade deals coming in the next 48 hours. Maybe that's the catalyst some folks are waiting for here.
Well, let's just close this gap that we created from Wednesday to Thursday, and then once that happens, we can turn around and go higher. How about that?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
I mean, okay, no problem. Day trader here saying, Ryan, both my accounts are down 1% today. Yeah, it's nothing I can't recover. It's just the only thing that was notable today. A lot of the days that are like this, you know, of 1 or 2 positions or 3 positions that are green and a handful of them that are red or vice versa. Today, it's different though. Every single one across the board, every single thing pulling back here. Doesn't matter if it's small cap, large cap, tech, consumer. It don't matter. It don't matter. Anne-Marie here saying really quickly, volume is very light across the board. I'm seeing the same thing. The advanced to decliners line minus 1200. It opened at minus 1347. Tried to go back to 0. Couldn't. Now is rolling back over to the edge. Or to the end there, to the downside. Range-based trading for the next couple of days. VWAP is sideways. Okay, Anne-Marie, that might be it. I should have been more active today. That's what that tells me. I should have been more active today and defended some of the positions that I'm holding here. Didn't feel great about anything except for one, and I was too late on it.
Thinking about it with a pretty good mention here regarding Lunar. Now, they do have another launch coming in October, as he was just mentioning there. I have levels out here for Lunar. It's interesting how the increments of 5 were really well for this. So $10, $15, $20. We're coming down to $10. And if you look at the $10 level and even put a line there, you can see how that has been a support and resistance level. So would like to see $10 hold up. But if we do continue lower, then $9 looks like a pretty decent area as well. Just thought it was a great mention on a potential trade here with the upcoming launch that they have scheduled for October. So something we can maybe explore. I don't know. We don't have time today because we've got like only a matter of minutes left in the day. But,
yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God. It did.
But you know, this is something I think we should definitely be keeping on watch, especially if we have rate cuts looming.
Really quickly, Michael, you said you're up about 11% on PTHS. Good luck on that. Make sure you don't give some of those gains back. We think that one's kind of wild here, kind of thin.
It's just made new highs. $32 now. And you're right. It's very, very. Look at that. I said it hit $32. The very next second, it pops up to $32.92. Please be careful with this. It sounds like you're doing great. I don't want to tell you what to do, Michael, but man, this things like this can make or break your day. Now it's halted again.
Halted at about 33 here.
Get it, Michael. To the moon. If it's going to the moon, get it. You have my support. VIOT, 10% more from last call. Nice. I don't think we've looked at that one today. VIOT.
Yikes, man. Not a good day at all.
Yeah, Joseph Schmo, regarding Rocket Lab, anytime that you have something that negatively affecting Musk, then that makes sense that because we pointed this out like a while back when they first had their feud. We saw all those space stocks, especially Rocket Lab, really start to go because the thought was, well, what's going to happen with all these SpaceX contracts and NASA? They're going to start going to Rocket Lab or other companies like United Launch Alliance. And yes, the Neutron is pretty sweet, but they need to get that launched and they need to stop having it be delayed. That's been the biggest reason for downside at all when it comes to Rocket Lab is if they move out the test launches for that, that is going to pull the stock down because that is going to be their biggest growth driver going forward. Okay? The Electron's not going to do it from here. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. I'm sorry. Market at lows across the board. Sweet one, you were talking about it feels like we're trying to go lower or the market might be going lower. Indeed, it looked like to be a little bit delayed. Lower we go here. Lower we go. Everything is pulling. Man, oh man.
It's okay. We just needed to cool off. Everything was really overcooked.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I had higher hopes. I wanted it to be a little bit better. I was certainly not expecting literally everything that I own to be pulling back. Day back from the trip, but it is what it is.
Man, VIOT, this thing is just on a tear right now. Started at under $2, now just hit a high of $2.78. Yeah, Smoke Tuna, you're
Yeah, Mike's asking, Smoke Tuna, how do we get your calls? You be in this room, Mike. That's how you do it. He's in here every day doing this.
Yep.
Every day.
Now BTBT, this hit 375, which is pretty close to a trend line I was drawing earlier. You can draw this one yourself. Start with the pre-market high from July 1st. Draw it through the pre-market high from July 3rd. And in the regular session, you'll see we had just touched that trend line. So you got to go all the way back to July 1st in the pre-market.
Take care of yourself, Kev.
Take care, Kevin.
Yeah, Zach, I should be more clear about that. 13's doing a really good job outlining that. It should be more clear. I'm not terribly disappointed that we're pulling back here on the market. I had more plans for today. I was hoping for some better performance today, but had a good week last week. So a little bit of a pullback here today. Not the end of the world. Just sucks. It's hitting me in every single area.
The day just started.
That's true. A lot of the times it's been rough in the morning, only to come back in the afternoon and be pretty much back to unch. See if we get that here today.
And we still have a whole rest of the day. Get news headlines.
Von Rivera. It's a bad day when Peter Navarro shows up on CNBC. He's actually right. It seems like every time Navarro comes on, the market just hates it, and it just wants to move lower. Liked it when Besant was on earlier. Doesn't like it anymore. It looks like. All right, 13. You want to give you want to wrap up here?
Yeah, just real quick. VIOT. I was just looking to see what the news was. I don't see any news today, though it might have something to do with their NASDAQ recompliance. Maybe we'll find out more about that later on. But the last piece of news that I have is from June 17th, so I don't know the exact reason it's moving today. Folks, it's been a wonderful Monday morning. I hope everybody had a wonderful 4th of July. Seems that everybody's got all their fingers left, so that's great. Let's make sure we don't lose our hats now in this market that seems to be moving all around with volatility. Enjoy your next show here. Who do we have coming up next?
We have Trader Bacon coming up next, and they don't have to do anything. I'm just going to send you there. So 13, really good stuff.
Enjoy the bacon.
13, he's always got to get that last joke in there, but it's a good one. 13, take care. We'll see you later, and we'll see you tomorrow. Folks, I am going to send you over to Trader Bacon. Welcome back for another full week here. Good Monday. Stay green, stay safe, stay focused.